County School Board meeting tonight.
It's not on, is it?
Oh, it's on. We're ready. It is the 18th of August. We'll begin by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask Board Member Bluth to lead us in that. Thank you for your attendance tonight. As we've led up to this meeting and we see the amount of individuals in the room, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to participate in this public hearing. And as you can see on our agenda, we have a full list of items as it pertains to our Wasatch County School District. And so with that being said, I would entertain a motion that we table those items that we were going to with regard to the school business and the items for voting with our normal Wasatch County School District meeting to a different time. And we'll come back as a Board of Education and do those meetings. And we'll dedicate the total evening to the Land Use Authority and the building authority, the local building authority topic at hand.
Okay, Tom, I motion that we move the regular scheduled board meeting to a later date.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right, welcome to the local land building authority meeting for tonight. It's August the 18th, and the purpose of this meeting is a public hearing. And so with that being said, just to set some expectations for the night, to ensure that we have a very productive meeting and all voices are heard, that first and foremost, we appreciate your attendance. We're glad that you're here. We want to hear your voice, and we want to hear all the different sides of the story as it relates to you and your lives. And as a local building authority, we are here to listen and to set a little bit of ground rules to help us all listen and help us all show the mutual respect that everyone deserves. This is the outline of the evening. So first, you will come up to the podium and state your name and your address, and you'll have 2 minutes to make your comment. Stacy has a timer to help us stay on track. When that timer goes off, I will remind you that your time is up and that and please finish your comment. And that will be the standard for the evening. And then from there, we'll go 5 comments in a row, and then we'll pause, and we'll let the local building authority respond appropriately, however they wish. And then we'll go back for another 5, and we'll do that until everybody feels like they've had their voice heard. And I'll check in on the hour to see how many individuals in the audience still plan on making a comment. I imagine there'll be a line of people that will stand up and to get in line and to take their turn. And we'll go to that point. So with all that being said, if I missed anything, board? Okay, we'll begin with the first comment. Who has the first comment? Come on up.
My name's Bill Klopp. I live at 35 Pole Drive in Big Pole Estate subdivision. First, I commend you for your public service. I was on a board in Idaho, and it's a thankless job. Somebody's got to do it. Secondly, I'd like to make the statement, I'm not intrinsically opposed to the need for expanded classroom space, but I am opposed to the idea of going through a lease revenue bond when it hasn't been publicly disseminated, to my knowledge, where the revenue is going to come for the bond. And I've heard rumors about the board will lease the building back, and the lease being a normal expenditure, it can be added to our taxes. I finished a presentation last night to the Wasatch County Council, very detailed. I'll provide you, or it's on the video. But this presentation showed that the average property increase in this county, if the present appraisals are held up, and we're opposing that, is about 50%. My personal tax increase is 112%, with 166% increase in the appraised value. There are people that make my appraisals and tax increase look attractive. So we've got a serious economic issue in this county, and a lease revenue bond, I think, is not the way to get public support for supporting the institution of schools in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. The superintendent reminded me that we were going to show an overview video. It's 5 minutes long, and we'll do that. So Stacy, if you can cue that up. And this is an informative video.
With the continued record-setting growth happening in Utah, and specifically the large increase in population in Wasatch County, the need for additional schools to be built in the Wasatch County School District has grown more urgent. In 2019, Wasatch County had a total population of 34,242. This year, in 2022, that number has grown to 36,813, a 7.5% increase. It is predicted that by 2027, the county population will exceed 41,000. Based on recent studies, the student population for Wasatch County School District is projected to increase by 1,761 students in 5 years, and by 2,270 resident students in 10 years, a net increase of 30% if current trends continue. The population of Wasatch High School for the 2021-2022 school year was 2,511 students, up from the 2018-2019 student count of 2,217, a 13.5% increase in just 3 years. Demographers predict that by the school year 2026-2027, the population of Wasatch High School could be as high as 3,130 students. At the end of May 2022, as a result of hiring third-party consultant GSBS to assist with the year-long community-involved facilities master planning process, the board has been presented with the recommendation that their first priority should be to build a new high school and to secure the funding to do so as soon as possible. With that priority in mind and the need to be fiscally responsible, the board has taken steps to secure funding for a second high school. For the first step, the board has voted to refinance its 2014 general obligation bonds to shorten the life of the bonds for the current Wasatch High School so that they can be paid off more quickly. This is projected to save the Wasatch taxpayers $830,000 in the process. The final payment on the current high school bond will be made in 2024. Then on June 9th, in an effort to be transparent and to involve the public as much as possible in the decisions to secure funding for the second high school, the board held an additional public meeting based solely on lease revenue bonding. The next step the board took was to vote in their June 14th meeting to establish the local building authority of Wasatch County School District. This local building authority is the means by which lease revenue bonds can be issued to pay for new construction and to set in motion the legal requirements to be able to use lease revenue bonds as a financing option. In accordance with state law, school districts can only fund new construction in one of two ways: by creating a local building authority to issue lease revenue bonds, which the board did during its June 14th meeting, or by placing a resolution on November's ballot to issue general obligation bonds. If a general obligation bond resolution passes, the bonds would be issued the following February. If lease revenue bonds are issued, the board can take advantage of current interest rates and lock in the rate immediately. If a general obligation bond to build a second high school were approved in the November election, the bond could not be put out for sale until February of 2023. Based on current economic trends, it's reasonable to assume that the interest rate in February will be higher than the current rate. To protect that lower rate, the Wasatch County School District Board of Education voted on Thursday, July 14th, 2022, to issue lease revenue bonds by its local building authority. During June and early July 2022, the district's surveyors, Y2 Analytics, polled 511 voters to measure their preference for funding the new high school. The data was weighted to reflect the demographics of likely voters within Wasatch County School District, specifically in regard to age, gender, political party registration, and the probability of voting in the November general election. For 78% of respondents, utilizing a combination of existing capital funds and lease revenue bonds was the preferred method of financing a second high school. 97% of respondents also cited fiscal responsibility of the school board and the district as a top priority. The current estimate to build a second high school is $160 million, including a 3% contingency fund for possible increase in costs. The board's decision to fund most of the high school with lease revenue bonds was made at the recommendation of the district's bond advisors and bond counsel. Their recommendation is to issue bonds immediately instead of waiting until February 2023. Issuing the bonds as soon as possible instead of after the first of the year following a general obligation bond election would provide a savings of, conservatively, half an interest point, or $11.4 million on a $150 million lease revenue bond. This estimate is based on current interest rates which continue to climb. These lease revenue bond payments will begin in 2025 with a similar yearly payment as the current high school bond, which will end in 2024. Because of the continued growth in the county, the property tax levied by Wasatch County School District is dropping by 20% from .008246 in 2021 to .006635 in 2022. The combination of lowering of the district tax rate, together with the final payment being made on the current high school bond, means that the financing of the new high school is projected to have little to no impact on the taxes imposed by the school district. Most taxpayers will not see an increase to their tax bill due to the building of the second high school. Instead, the current high school bond will be retired and the second high school bond will take its place. If a resident sees a higher Wasatch County tax bill, it would most likely be due to an increase in the assessed value of their property as part of the current property tax corrections and not from the newly issued lease revenue bonds for the new high school.
In funding a new high school through lease revenue bonds, we feel that we can save the taxpayer approximately $10 to $45 million. This is the most fiscally responsible way to build a second high school in this community. We are also very keenly aware of the burden of our taxpayers to educate our students in this community. For this reason, we've taken a lot of time and effort to discuss solutions with our bond and legal counsel and feel confident that this is the best path forward.
While it is impossible to predict interest rates into the future, based on the best available information, it is the opinion of the school board and their financial advisors that securing funding through the issuance of lease revenue bonds is the best available option. The board is dedicated to continuing the community involvement in this process as plans move forward to build a new high school, with the building committee comprised of community members to be convened in the next few months.
Very good. Hopefully that provides an element of information that helps with the comments tonight. Please proceed.
Hello, board. My name is Tate Stone. I live at 3534 West, 3400 South in Charleston. I bought my home about a year ago, but I grew up in this valley. I grew up in Midway. Not to throw shade, but looking around, I am probably the most recent Wasatch High School graduate in the room. And I want to say that factors into sort of why I'm here and why I think it's important that we do proceed with the new high school and that we do it with what you have proposed with the lease revenue bonds. When I graduated in 2014, Wasatch High School was a 3A sized high school. Obviously, it has grown tremendously, and I did not graduate that long ago. I think it is reasonable, and I think that the projections that we've seen make it absolutely the best path forward to pursue this plan. There are absolutely legitimate concerns from those in the committee or in the community about taxes increases they're currently experiencing. But we also have to think that if we don't take this action, taxpayers will likely have to pay an increased amount down the road, and it still puts an undue burden on the children in the school system. In my opinion, we should have built this school 3 to 4 to 5 years ago. So to put it off any longer, I think is an undue burden on the children in the school system right now. And I fully support this plan. It's not ideal. I don't think anybody, if we could have a free high school, that'd be great. But unfortunately, we do have to do it and we have to pay for it. It's never going to be perfect and it is going to impact certain people in the community. But I think it is worth pursuing, and I think that the children in this community are where we need to be investing our tax dollars. Thank you.
Matt Sproul, excuse me. I live on 400 South, 530 East. I just want to start off by saying I'm grateful to live in this beautiful valley. I'm grateful to be an educator in this valley. I work at the high school. I'm an instructional coach, and I teach a class called Wasatch Caps, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I'm grateful that we live in a free country where we can come to meetings like this and share ideas, even when we disagree. I'm grateful for the board and the many, many thankless hours they put in for me and for my children. I believe that building a new comprehensive high school is what's best for our community. As a father, sometimes I know that I have to make sacrifices for my kids so they can have a better life. And I think that's what we're talking about right now, is that building a big new high school is gonna be a sacrifice, but it's worth it. When we think about creating an educated citizenry, as Thomas Jefferson talked about, it's crucial. We will not have our freedom if we don't educate our children. And if we're gonna do it, we should do it right. And building a new high school is what's right, and that's what's gonna give our kids the best opportunity, and we need to do it, and we need to do it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
My name is Jill Casper, and I live at 9846 East Lake Pines Drive in Timber Lakes. For 19 years, I was a high school librarian. I do agree that we have a pressing need for more high school space, but I have serious concerns about the process and the solution. I have 3 questions for the board. Why is the board so determined to pursue a plan that the voters rejected in 2019? Why are you refusing to consider another option? And why are you so determined to that one, after seeing that one, that question I won't ask. The board created the Future Schools Project Committee, composed of volunteer citizens, to look at options after the failure of the last referendum in 2019. I thought that was a really good move. The FSPC came up with an alternative plan at half the cost, yet the board basically dismissed it, didn't bother to share the plan with the public, and instead you're taking the advice of the board-paid architects instead of the SSPC. Why you started FSPC is, I don't know. I feel that the plan the board is pursuing is not a good plan. Building an entirely new high school not only costs more, but also entails extra costs for maintaining the new building. Second athletic field, second auditorium, doubling administrative staff, sports uniforms, equipment. These are just some of the extra costs associated with the second high school. The second plan is more fiscally responsible, educationally sound, and addresses the overcrowding sooner. So as you pursue this original plan, I feel it will seriously erode public trust in the board. And I want to know, why is the board so determined to pursue this without considering the other alternatives that are out there and giving that information to the public?
Thank you.
My name is Brett Woodard. I live at 870 Pinion Circle in Heber. I have about 40 years' experience in finance, including large project financing and leasing in the corporate sector. There are 2 problems that I have with the proposal. And let me say first that at this point I agree that I think there needs to be a new building, not just an addition to what we've got. I think we're past that point. So I'll let that one go. But in terms of the financing, let me point out a couple of items. I'd love to know how many people in the survey actually knew what a lease revenue bond was. I'm not acquainted with it, and I've got plenty of experience. So to ask a question as to whether they think that is the best mode of financing is a little bit ludicrous. You gotta kind of know what that is first. And I don't think the majority of the people in the survey would know that. Secondly, let me point out that the assumptions made for the $11 million savings assume a fairly healthy interest rate increase. They've got to, between now and whenever it was, February, when the bond could be floated. We currently are experiencing a negative yield curve. That is to say, the short-term interest rates for federal bonds, federal borrowing, are below what the long-term ones are. It's an unusual situation. It's an inverted yield curve. In general, you can use this as a predictor of short-term and long-term interest rates, at least the direction. So the direction indicated by that is contrary to what your financial advisors are telling you. In fact, the expectation currently, and it changes day to day, the expectation currently would be that the interest rates might be at or below where they are right now at the time the bond could be floated. Finally, the major issue that I have with this is,
Thank you, your time is up.
okay,
Please finish your thought.
that it, I will, thank you, that it circumvents the process that has been put out so that the voters can approve or disapprove long-term capital raises. And this completely circumvents that. And I think that's not justifiable in any case. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. For the last 5, now we have time for comment from the board.
We want Matt to speak to the inverted curve.
Yeah.
Matt, could you maybe speak to the inverted curve a little bit?
You bet.
Matt, why don't you come up to the podium, state your name and address? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Matt Dugdale, financial advisor to the board, and I reside in Fruit Heights on, gosh, what is my address? 816 Shepherd Creek. With all due respect to the gentleman that just spoke, certainly don't want to discount your corporate finance experience. I will say that the tax-exempt bond market is different than the corporate space, and currently the tax-exempt yield curve.
Matt, could you pull your microphone a little bit up?
Sure.
There you go.
Our tax-exempt yield curve is not inverted. In fact, it is upward sloping, and that is something that's published on a daily basis. The 1-year rate today, again, considering AAA rated bonds, is about a 2.1%, and the long-term 30-year rate is about a 3.08%. So definitely upward sloping and different than even the taxable space right now. Happy to answer additional questions about that.
I just want to respond to the FSP comment. We had about, I don't know, correct, let's see, maybe 70 FSP committee members, right? Approximately 70. That's a rough number, okay? I didn't go today and count the exact names, but I think we had about 5 that went off and created the option, the other option. So as far as FSP committee members, that wasn't like a voted on option by the whole FSP committee. It was a plan that was created by 5, maybe 6 committee members and came up with that plan and did present it to us. So I just want to let you know that wasn't.
And should be known that we have included that in the binder.
In the binder, yeah, it's in our.
It is there. Yeah, Chuck, it is. We did add that plan to our whole.
It's in here.
It's there.
So.
Well, and to speak to that as well, that subgroup of FSP had their alternative plan They presented it to FSP committee as well. And it was included, like we've said, both options, as a magnet school and as a 9th grade center. And it was rated in there as well, so.
We looked at it extensively, really did.
So it sounds like the whole committee voted on that or agreed on that plan, and that is not the case.
Any other comments from the board? Okay, please proceed.
Good evening. My name is Cody Clyde, and my address is 999 South, 960 East, Heber, Utah. I have a little bit of a unique perspective as I'm a father of students in the high school now. I have a daughter who probably will not get to enjoy the benefit of the new high school, but I have nieces and nephews and grandchildren eventually that will probably benefit. I'm a teacher at the high school. I'm a taxpayer in Wasatch County, and I'm a lifelong resident with deep roots in this valley on many, many branches of my family tree. And I'm the first to admit that I've never wanted 2 high schools in my Heber Valley. It hurts. It's gonna hurt our community a little bit to split the students. But as I watched our student body 2 days ago fill the gym, not only did it feel unsafe, but our students are missing out on opportunities that I had as a student at Wasatch High School. I had a graduating class of 150, and that was a large class. But I had many opportunities that some of our kids don't have because there are just too many of them. The need has passed. We needed a new high school at least 5 years ago. I know that the building is gonna cost a lot more now than it would have 5 years ago, and it will cost a lot more in 5 years. Those costs do not go down. I don't want my taxes to go up either. But our kids are worth the opportunities that they're missing out on right now. I appreciate the board and their foresight and all the good work that you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take off my mask here for a minute. My name is Ken Mickelson. I live at 128 Chantel Cove, Midway, Utah. I want to thank the members of the school board for their commitment and time that they devote to these kind of issues and being our representatives for the citizens on this for the school district. I would like to state I'm not affiliated with any organization. I'm just here representing myself and friends that I talk a lot to about these kind of issues. I want to state I'm pro-education, pro-teachers. We grossly underpay our teachers. Thank you for the great job you do. And I wish we could pay you more because you're the most important people in the school district. Not necessarily administrators, but you guys that actually teach the people in the school. So thank you for that. But I want to quote a comment made by School Board Member Allen to KPCW on May 19, 2002. Board Member Allen said, when the plan finalized, the board can begin deciding on what to do next. And the board wants to hear from you, the community. We want to hear from you. The doors are open. Come talk to us. We have to balance the needs of our community and the needs of education of our youth. However, by limiting speakers to 2 minutes, in my opinion, seems different than what was expressed by Board Member Allen. In 2 minutes on a subject like this, it's very difficult to have an open discussion. I have 7 main concerns about what is happening. First, not having an open and honest discussion about bond options. I made presentations, Randy, to you guys, to Moody's before on general obligation bonds, got bond ratings. I'm very familiar with that process.
Is that accurate? Wow. Thank you. Your time is up. Please finish your comment.
Wait a minute.
No, it's 2 minutes for everyone. If we were at a state committee meeting, they would give us 1 minute if there was a line this long.
All right,
2 minutes
so
would be great.
again, it just demonstrates to me
Okay,
No.
that there's not interest whatsoever to hear public comments. I could take only 2 more minutes to express my concerns.
So,
All right, thank you.
so that's not how it works tonight. Let me tell you how it works. It works this way, is if it's my understanding you've already been in and met with Keith Johansson this week?
No, I talked with Keith, I never met with him,
Okay,
talked to him.
You did, you talked to him for
And
half an
he,
hour.
and he,
Okay,
ex-
and the next thing we'll do is continue to allow you to come in and talk to all of us whenever you would like, but not tonight. Tonight, we're going to keep to 2 minutes. You can finish your thought, just like everybody else.
He's just giving it, yeah.
Finish your thought, and you
okay,
can.
that's all, that, yeah, I'm not here to debate or argue.
And
I'm
we're
just
not
saying-
either. Your
Finish-
2 minutes is
I'm just saying I'd
up.
like to
Finish your
stress
thought.
7 things that people have talked to me about, that people are concerned about. So 1 is the bond issue. Very familiar with it, and I would like to have them explain to me why when you GO bonds, that's double banked by the faith of the government, school district, and the state, that they're not lower rates in the long run. Okay. Second issue is, let me get back to, the second issue is not presenting potential options of other ways we could accomplish this. In 2006, when the new high school built, it was promised that it could be added on to. I've never seen that option whatsoever. And the new option that was presented by a member of the committees that really never had full vetting. Third, in not providing the community with accurate information, especially related to interest bond rates and taxes. Fourth, lack of transparency by the district on many of these subjects. Fifth, slanted results from the survey, and I can show you a survey question that is so slanted that everyone's going to vote for lease revenue bonds. Sixth, not willing to really answer all the questions that people have in a public forum so everybody here can hear those answers. 7, let's explore how we as a community members together, instead of trying to have the struggle of mistrust between people within the community. I'd be happy to share my professional experience working in many communities of how we're able to build some kind of consensus. And my last statement is, in a letter to the editor in the Wasatch Way by the Wasatch School District that pertained to the 2002 bond issue, this is what was said. It's in matters as critical as education for the children in the county, falsehoods, misrepresentations, and half-truths cannot stand. I totally agree with that. We gotta stop this. So let's unite together in an open, transparent process that brings the community together so they can share their ideas, have a good dialogue, and work on consensus. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nicole Brown. I have a son at the high school. I have 2 kids at the TMS, and then I have 1 at Daniels Canyon. I wanted to go over a study by Karen Ershmer on school size. It says, report the large school size hurts, in this study, it reports that large school size hurts attendance and dampens enthusiasm for involvement in school activities. Large schools have lower grade averages and standardized test scores, coupled with higher dropout rates and more problems with violence, security, and drug abuse. As for costs, savings projected by proponents of school consolidation have not materialized, instead of long assumed economies of scale or penalties of scale. Large schools need more layers of support and administrative staff to handle the increased bureaucratic demands. 25 different schools across the nation found that on average, small schools spent 17 less per student than comparable schools in their districts while achieving equivalent or better results. I might add that so-called small schools should more appropriately be called moderately sized schools, the size that allows students to be somebody rather than a number. There are only so many football players on a team. There are only so many parts in a play or places in student body. Be aware that refusing to pass bonds for new schools will not keep, or leases, will not keep taxes low. It will just move the control from the local district to the state while increasing problems in the schools as it pushes them ever bigger. which points to requiring more programs to try to mitigate the problems of lowered performance, coupled with higher dropout rates and more problems with violence, security, and drug abuse. It requires more taxes to cover increased busing, along with increased costs to parents transporting their children. Bigger schools only appear cost-effective on paper. They decrease opportunities for the vast majority of students. Let's not shortchange our children and our pocketbooks by cramming them into large schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Proceed.
My name is Lowry Sabalkin. I live at 273 South, 250 West, Midway. When we lose an election, we live with it. Just the way it is. And a financial choice that is voted on is an indicator to those planners, administrators, and so on, that either you have a terrible idea, it's going to hurt too many people economically, or you didn't educate us well enough. You have my blessing to educate me and us and convince me that this is the best row to hoe. Building a new high school on a 10-foot deep peak bog doesn't sound real clever, but that's engineering. Convince me. You do not have my permission to go round behind my back and use a method I do not get to vote on. The second idea I have is a potential very long-term solution. Michael, go back to Salt Lake City. Convince the state government that this has to be, that the way funds are collected for new homes needs to be corrected such that the costs incurred by massive development like we have now, sewer systems, police, water treatment, and schools, that needs to be in enormous part paid for by the influx of people generating it. Those folks that bought in 25, 30 years ago and stuck it out at $6, $7, $8 an hour for wages and stayed are only making 15 or 18.
Thank you.
You need to
Your
help us
time's
correct
up.
that.
Please finish your comment. Okay, Chris,
Thank
we're at
you.
5.
Yeah, I hear you.
This is
I
is
think I'm
Chris
the fifth,
5?
right?
Yeah, Chris is fine.
I want to be last. You can throw all the fire this way. Okay, so
you're
Chris
5.
Crittenden, 99 West, Farm Springs Road. There's a lot of issues swirling around this. I think it's important we focus on the issue at hand tonight. And that is whether you as a school board or a building authority, who you are now,
We are today.
believes that the public should have a say on the largest construction project ever encountered in this district. It's not about whether we need more space or not. I think most of us in this room believe that we do. You set out to say that we should have a say with the Future Schools project, but as Kimberly so eloquently pointed out for us, there were only 5 people in that group of 80 that had any sort of opposing opinion. In my group, there was 1, right? So the board cannot say that they've heard the public. If we were to have a representative meeting, there would have been 60% that would have been having a different opinion in those meetings. That's who voted against the school bond several years ago. The group of 5 came together. We put a proposal together that actually seriously looked at alternatives to expanding capacity that was not building a new school. We presented that to the board. It was half the cost. It satisfied the capacity needs using the district's projection numbers. It's not a Band-Aid. It fully satisfies the capacity. It follows a model of 4 of the top 10 high schools in the state. We presented it to them. We said, we simply want you to give this to the public and show it to them. Whatever the public says, you'll have our support. Following that meeting, the board said, we want to work with you on this. In writing, they said that. We never heard from them again until they were proposing leased revenue bonds that do not require our support or the public's support. So again, the issue tonight is not whether we need more capacity or not. The issue tonight is whether you deserve as citizens, whether you as a housing authority believe in a democratic process around the biggest issue that's ever faced this district. I think we should. I think the voters should be allowed to choose. I think there's two great options. I think they should see those
Thank you, Christian.
and be allowed to
Time is
vote.
up.
Thanks.
There's your comment. Okay. Ma'am, that was number 5.
Oh, come on.
So if you can wait, we'll see if the board has any comments to the last 5.
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead.
You can go.
I went first last time.
All right, Mr. Mickelson, I don't know where you went. Well, I can't right now. Mr. Mickelson, thank you. And yes, we do want to hear from you. That's why we just tabled all of our items for the rest of the night. We truly do want to hear from you. As respect to everyone here, that's why we limit it to the 2 minutes. I would love to sit down and talk to you anytime. I would love for you to come back at multiple meetings and bring up your concerns, honestly, truly, okay? The 2-minute time limit is to be respectful of every single person here, so. And I wrote down, I got all of your concerns except for number 4 and parts 5 and 6. But I just want, I guess my biggest thing is, yes, we do want to hear from you. That's why we're doing this. That's why we just canceled the rest of the meeting. There was another gentleman, Lowry, so I don't want to butcher your last name. It's a good one. That's the purpose of this meeting as well, is to provide as much education and information as possible. We have tried to include as many people as possible. We have tried to have open houses. We have had extra meetings. We have tried. Kind of like with our FSP process, we invited a lot of people. If you can't come, you can't come, but we still try and provide that information. You're telling us we need to provide more information. We will be working on that and trying to do that more. Hopefully that video was a little informative as well on lease revenues. We have been talking about them since April, May, June, July now. And so we have been trying to educate. If somebody else wants to jump
No, the
in.
process of lease revenue bonds has been eye-opening for us as well. We've had to go through the process of learning how it works, and we're not hiding it from anybody. You know, this has been the process, and going forward, if we feel like we need a new high school, this has been the best way forward.
I want to respond to just being available and having discussions. And I mean, several of us have thrown our numbers out there all over social media saying, call my cell number. And I've spoken to a lot of people. I know a couple of us have had hours-long lunch meetings with people because they wanted to meet, and we were open to that. Our door is literally always open. I was on a call last night at 11 o'clock. And I want to, on social media, somebody said that, you know, these closed-door meetings are to convince you of our agenda, and that is not true. We're available. I'm here to, you know, if 10 people want a meeting, let's have a meeting. We're not trying to convince you. We're going to give you information. You want information? Call us. We'll arrange a meeting. We're happy to. We're always available. And we have made ourselves available constantly. We're on social media just telling everybody, give us a call. And you know what? Half the time, people don't call. I don't know. So we're here. There are many of you out here in the audience that I have spent hours on the phone or face-to-face with. So we are available. Please call us. We'll meet with you.
Comment to Cody Clyde as well. We don't want another high school. Why? Why would we want to divide this town? But the answer is we need to. The numbers don't lie. We have to do this.
I want to comment on impact fees. Representative Kohler is here, and I completely agree that the energy needs to be spent down there trying to get these legislators to allow school impact fees.
To help.
Well,
Help us out.
Yes.
And to speak to that, Mike probably knows more of the history on this as well. There were impact fees for schools in Utah 28 years ago. That got suspended, and it was only supposed to be suspended for a year. That is not our domain. We do not have control over state law. According to state law, there are 2 ways we can pay for your schools for your kids, your grandkids, my kids, everyone's children in this valley. Two ways, general obligation and lease revenue. The impact fees have been suspended for 28 years. Mike, to his credit, has worked hard and worked with leadership, but he couldn't even get his bill out of committee. He couldn't even get it heard in committee. So truly, we understand. My taxes have tripled, guys. I'm in the same boat. I have 3 kids and my taxes have tripled. But I also know that investing in education, like our one teacher said, I don't know where Matt is, investing in education is an investment in your country, your community, because when you educate your citizens, they become involved and they show up at meetings and they share their perspectives and help us. And that's what we are trying to do. Again, it goes to when you're a one high school community, second high school is going to be hard no matter what. We are trying to do this in accordance with the FSP process, securing funds, and being fiscally responsible. And if we can save at minimum $11.4 million, that's half of a new elementary school. We're paying the other high school off early for almost a savings of another $1 million. We are trying to piece together savings so it's not hard on the taxpayers. Truly believe that. I will say that over and over again. And as for our meetings with people, when people come and want to talk to us, there's been questions that we then pass on to the district and say, hey, we need this information on the website. Because not everybody has time for one-on-one meetings. We know that. So we're trying to put it up there as much as we get it. Realize your input does matter. Your meetings with us do matter because we can put it up there so that people who aren't on social media or don't see some meeting posting can hopefully go there at 2 a.m. when they're up with a kid and randomly think about it. Like, we're trying to get information out to the community to help educate on this process.
One last thing is, we're not gonna go, I'm not gonna explain this right now, but for anybody that is interested in why we did not add on, email us and we'll explain that. So anybody that's interested in that, just contact us, okay? Okay, do you want it? Superintendent, would you like to take that one?
Well, in 2006, when we ran the bond and the bond passed, and by the way, there's a long history of bonds failing. You bet, sorry about that. In 2006, when we bonded for the current high school, we had ran a bond 2 years prior that had failed. And, you know, these bonds, they come and go, they pass, they fail, and we can't just stop with the amount of kids we have moving here right now. We can't just say, well, we voted on it once, we're done for the rest of whenever. So, anyway, in 2006, we did say, as a matter of fact, that we build a school that could be added on to. At the time, Timpanogos Middle School was occupying the old junior high that was built in 1974, that's across the way. That was a functioning school. And so in 2006, we didn't have prior knowledge or even a vision then that that building would become vacant someday. So on down the road, let's go down to 2016, we passed a bond to build the first ever second middle school in this valley, also Daniels Canyon Elementary, and a pool facility that was badly needed and that had been voted down at the county, and we built a much smaller, less expensive pool facility for our swim teams. And when that bond passed and those buildings were constructed, it opened up a vacant school next door to Wasatch High School. And so that became our overflow. And instead of spending anywhere between $8 to $20 million to add on the wings, depending on how many classrooms we would add on, we used the school next door. We're still using it. There are over 500 kids every day that walk over to the old junior high school and use it as an overflow. So that has created such an overcrowding at the school itself, in the hallways, in the lunchroom. We've tried 3 lunches. We've tried a lot of different things. The infrastructure at the high school is maxed out. And the 500 kids that walk across the campus each day, when they come back to campus, whether it's for some event or opening day, as we just heard about, and so on, it's just maxed out. And so to add the wings on now would just add insult to injury to a very overcrowded high school, because we've got this 500 unit school that we're using. So in the event that we are able to see this second high school built, there will be an option, again, down the road, if this other school, which has some seismic problems, it has a concrete beam construction component that does not do well in earthquakes. And the last earthquake in Salt Lake City, a school similar to that failed miserably. And so we've got some issues with that building, and we've got to figure out exactly what we're going to do with that. And anybody that was on the FSP committee heard those reports from the technical assessments that were completed of all of our buildings. So can we still add on that school someday? The answer is yes. Will we add on to that school someday? We can't really see into the future, but my guess is that someday it will be added on to. But the fact that we have this empty building next door seemed to be a better idea and a tax savings at the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you. So I do think it would be important to inform this group, because there are some individuals in the audience here that have helped us along our journey. And so first I'll ask Jared Anderson, our general counsel of the district, to describe what legal obligations and levers that we have as a school board to secure funds. I think that will be important. And then second, I'll ask our bond counsel to then come up and talk about the mechanics of a lease revenue and why it is something that other school districts have used and how it can help us build schools now and in the future. So if you don't mind, Jared. Thanks.
My name is Jared Anderson. I'm an attorney with the firm of Seiler, Anderson, Fife, and Marshall. I have served as general counsel for the district now for several years. I'm not sure how many years, to be honest, 8 to 10 years. It's ironic as we hear talk about impact fees. I think about the first case that I handled on behalf of the district to explain to those here present the challenges that a district faces when it is building a school. I was first engaged by the district to resolve a dispute between the district and Heber City over the amount of impact fees Heber City was charging the district. So not only does the district not gain the benefit of collecting impact fees, it pays impact fees. And it pays a lot more impact fees than the normal homeowner. So this was alluded to prior in the video as well as some of the statements. The school district basically has 2 options: a general obligation bond or a lease revenue bond. The lease revenue bond is a function of a local building authority, which is an entity that was created by the Utah legislature. This is not something that anyone here made up. This is something that was created years and years ago by our state legislature and has been used in several contexts for this exact same purpose. In 1985, the legality of local building authorities, and in particular, lease revenue bonds, was challenged to the Utah Supreme Court. And this stemmed from a case out of Iron County where the county needed to build a new jail. The opinion issued by the Supreme Court in that case makes it clear that this jail was well overdue. I won't belabor those facts, but the issue there was that everyone agreed that a jail was necessary and needed, but the general obligation bond failed. So what does the county do at that point? They formed a local billing authority and they issued a revenue bond. And the Supreme Court specifically upheld that action, and local billing authorities have been used regularly ever since. So I think to the comments that this body has lacked transparency or has somehow skirted the issue, my response would be this board has followed exactly what the state legislature said it was supposed to do. It couldn't be more transparent in that regard. I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah.
that's what I had to say.
I think that sets. Thank you. Yeah, I think that sets the stage then for our bond council to add to it, and then we'll have Matt talk specifically about some of the mechanics behind what other schools have done.
Sure. Randy Larson with the law firm of Gilmore and Bell, bond counsel to the district, going way back.
Randy, can you get closer to the mic?
I'm sorry, closer to the mic. There's a distinction between a general obligation bond and a lease revenue bond that's probably important, and that's why one requires an election and why one does not. A general obligation bond entitles the school district to raise property taxes sufficient to meet debt service on those bonds, above and beyond any existing property tax levy that the district currently has. It's a new source of property tax revenue. A lease revenue bond does not entitle the district to do that. When the district does a lease revenue bond, they are saying, we will collateralize these bonds by the school facility itself, and we will make a budget decision on an annual basis of how we will come up with that lease payment. It does not entitle them to raise your taxes. The legislature's created the lease revenue bond tool in conjunction with overall tax levy limits the school district has to live by. They are underneath legislative approved tax rates, and so they have some cap room. But if I were worried about the tax impact to me as a property taxpayer, I would prefer a lease revenue bond, because it puts pressure on the board on an annual basis to decide how will they make that payment. It doesn't automatically entitle them to just push that to taxpayers. You have an impact on this board for the next 20 or 25 years that these bonds may be outstanding. And as you elect them, they will have a budgeting process that will have to curry your favor or not. So if I wanted to have a limitation on the impact of property taxes in my bill, which I am a resident, by the way, a lease revenue bond is superior to protecting interests of taxpayers because it's not a guarantee to push that to others. Having said that, the district has been very transparent in saying the debt service load of its budget, right? With the high school being paid off in 2016 and these not coming due until after that, the tax burden, or maybe I shouldn't say that, the debt service burden for these bonds will not exceed that of the current high school. But they will not be entitled to raise your property taxes in every year because you have an election. They have to live within a budget process that occurs every year. At the end of the day, as a school board, you know, they're my boss, that's my client. And when they take an interest in financing a new high school, and they make that decision as a policy decision that we feel like we need this, the numbers, consulting, et cetera, tell us that, then as their consultants, I only have two options to tell them. One is a general obligation bond and one is a lease revenue bond. They certainly are not alone in issuing lease revenue bonds. Lease revenue bonds have been available since that case that you read. It's at 1985, and are commonly used by entities. Cities and counties have many other options to raise revenue whether it be water, sales tax, impact fees, that a school district does not have. So let's just keep in mind, for my 2 cents, that the distinction between a lease revenue bond and a GO bond does not entitle an automatic increase of your property taxes, nor can the district increase property taxes above the limit set by the legislature, not by the board, in any event. They can do that for a general obligation bond, but they cannot do that for a lease revenue bond. It's a common financing tool.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
All right. And then further, Matt, if you'd like to just speak about how schools in the state are currently using lease revenue bonds, I think that'd be helpful.
And I'll make sure I can speak close to the mic. Everyone hear me okay? Okay. So school districts, probably this group is not as familiar with lease revenue bonds because for school districts, up until probably the last decade, haven't been a common tool specifically for school districts. A challenge school districts have faced, especially over the last, I would say, 5 years, is imagine passing a GO bond for a particular amount. And the districts do a great job with their architects considering, well, we think it'll cost this much and for this school, and we think it'll cost this much for that school. But it takes time to build these schools. They can't build all of them at the same time. And so what we have seen, again, especially in the last few years, are many school districts actually issuing all of their general obligation bonds, the amount that was published and approved by voters. However, the $40 million middle school turned into a $60 million middle school. So it ate up that amount. So lease revenue bonds have been issued by many school districts to keep those promises to build that middle school or to build that elementary school that was on the tail end of the construction schedule, and they've used lease revenue bonds. So it's a much more common vehicle, again, especially over the last few years. We've also seen lease revenue bonds by school districts issued for opportunities that might arise outside of a capital GO bond program. For example, we've seen elementary schools that have decreasing enrollment, and those the school district has determined that, well, it would be good to perhaps condense 2 schools into one. We can't take students from one school, fit them all in this one, and so raise both or build onto the other one to fit the additional schools or students, and so that has also been utilized. And it's a challenge. The plight of school districts, again, is very challenging because they only have those 2 options. And I've been asking myself recently, what's more important, flushing toilets or educating kids? Flushing toilets, our sewer districts don't need to pass a bond, right? If they have to make plant upgrades, then they issue the bonds and upgrade, and they adjust sewer rates as needed to cover the debt payments on those bonds. And that's certainly not a plight to force those to a vote. And it's been interesting from the bonding side, just seeing these debates amongst the school district in the states, and lease revenue bonds will become a more common way of financing schools as they have been over the last several years.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Tom,
Yeah, go ahead.
really quick.
Please.
Chris, truthfully, you were number 5. You were on the back side of my notes, and I do want to respond to you, because I wrote down. So I just realized we responded to everyone, but Chris. And Chris, your question for us to answer, is the public going to have a say? And my response to that, and you talked about a democratic process, and my response to that, truthfully, honestly, from my heart, is that we are a democratic republic. And the public has elected me, Tyler, our president, Tom, Corey, and Kim. And they've elected us to, in situations like this, run an FSP process to the best we could, and to listen to the 3 gentlemen as experts in their domain to inform us so that we can make the best choice that we feel the public wants us to give them. In a democratic republic, not everyone is at every meeting. We try and be at every meeting. We try and get as much information as possible. And that is a burden that I know I felt the day I won. It's not a burden any of us take lightly in any way, shape, or form. So my response to that is, I hope that the public does feel they have an input, and we have tried to listen. And we have run surveys, and we have run third-party options that have given us data, and we have listened to experts for months.
For a year.
Trying to do it. So. But to that, I appreciate what you have done. And I appreciate you asking that question, because it needs to be asked. Most people know I was on the opposite side of the bond last time. I voted no. I said that when I was running. I'm on this side now, and I have been educated. And I have gained so much more knowledge that I want to share with people so they can understand why we did this. But for the public having a say, we're here because the public had a say. And is this the perfect route? Is this 100%, like Mr. Stone was saying, perfect and the way we want it? Not even for me. I can honestly say that. But is this the best route moving forward? Not getting everything maybe Marianne wants or Tyler wants? Yeah. And it's one of those times where
We gotta make a tough decision.
it's a tough decision
That's our
and
job.
it's a burden. I guarantee you that. That is not taken lightly.
Thank you, Marianne. Okay, and we paused to hopefully help with information, not necessarily to convince one way or the other, but to
No.
provide information that we've been given that maybe the public hasn't had a chance to view over this process. So please proceed.
Thank you. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to read what I speak, because while I'm pretty good extemporaneously, I don't trust my Dory moments to intervene when it's super important to me. My name is Heather Massa, and I'm a literacy specialist and interventionist at Heber Valley Elementary. However, I do live outside the district, so after my time, you can all send your fan or hate mail to P.O. Box 494 in Oakley. Just trying to cut the tension in here with my comedic feather. I would like to start with thanking the Wasatch County School District and its board for the way it has demonstrated its appreciation to the teachers, as well as its commitment to making decisions which you feel collectively serve the best interests of the students and the staff. I've heard a lot of that happening as I listened to your feedback to the presenters, so I'm actually glad you kind of cut me off and said, step back. The approach the district has taken and continues to navigate as we address growth are unparalleled by any I've seen facing that issue, and I grew up in a district that constantly had yearly meetings on, can we get a new school, can we get a new school, can we get a new school? We had the same problem as students. So I appreciate your diligence, but that's not what I'm here to speak about, but it leads me to my target. I'm here to put a face to the voice that has been an advocate for students and their families, as well as staff, as we discuss and deliberate on the proposals of the upcoming school calendar. It seems a little silly after all this heaviness to ask about that, but maybe my small potatoes will win, because it'll be something easy to check off. But not only as a member of the school community and as a teacher, but also a friend of district parents and our union rep for our school at Heber Valley, that's my voice. I urge you to pursue due diligence, continue to pursue due diligence when considering our breaks, specifically the big important ones, winter and summer. As a transplant, I can empathize with all these families that move in and the staff that comes to help support our schools that move in from other areas like me, who has done that and who try to make the most of these breaks when they come up. There's travel involved to spend time with family, whether it's a staff member that I'm speaking about or, teachers away from home or students involved in split custody arrangements. We don't want staff or students missing school, but inevitably that's what happens when the calendar is
Thank you for your comment.
is structured.
Please finish your thought.
I will, in a way that's conducive to that. I am here to speak tonight on those that I've referenced. I understand that these proposals are not our best or only options, that they are simply drafts and that it's tricky to please everyone. But I'm also confident that together we can eventually develop a calendar that satisfies almost everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Andrew Averett. I live in 345 Waterside Road. I am a CPA by background. I'm an accountant. I have audit as a lot of what I do. And so when I received your flyer in the mail, one thing popped out right away. how is a similar payment going to be made on this new bond? So right now, we've got a lease on this, or our current bond is $40 million, and we're going to have a new $150 million bond. That is like us getting a mortgage for $400,000 and saying it has the same exact payment that a $1.5 million house has. I don't know how that happens. So when you say on this report, we want 97% of our constituents want fiscal responsibility, this is why you don't have our trust. This is why we voted no. So that got me curious. It's my background. I look at numbers. This doesn't make sense. There are assumptions, there are things that I don't feel that I am, so I started digging. I don't know, I'm gonna come and ask more because I want to understand. The numbers do not make sense, okay? Where's the revenue gonna come? No new tax, no new revenue. I have so many things that I've looked at this. I doubt few of you have done math and looked at this, okay? It's, what they're sharing doesn't make, okay, you're gonna save us $11.4 million. Awesome, great, thank you. Also, thank you for paying it off early. You saved $830,000. But what does that turn around? When you go and you say, I'm gonna get a lease revenue bond and it's a 30-year thing, guess how much more interest comes through on that? I don't know what your rate is. At 5%, it's $52 million more that we're gonna pay. At 6%, it's $87 million more.
Thank you, your time's up.
There's
Please
so
finish
many
your
more
comment.
things that we don't have information.
You can finish your comment.
Hello, I am Brad Ellert, 1284 Dutch Highland Drive, Midway, Utah. I have a daughter who goes to Wasatch High School. My son just graduated, and I also work with schools all over the US. So I did little charts because I needed charts. So this is the proposal. I'm one of the 5 that put together the proposal. The district said we're gonna have 3,069 kids by 2025 in the high school. That means 500 more kids than what we have today in the high school. So if we're gonna have that many kids, if it's really about the kids, add some more classrooms so we have more space today to the building. You wanna build a new building in the future? Great. You wanna do that? You wanna build it at the same time? I don't care. But my daughter deserves that from this board. She deserves to have space in this high school, not just walking across, because if there's really gonna be that many people, that means you're gonna be adding 5+ kids to each classroom. How do you do that? Okay? And you can do it for $10 million. Okay, that's the numbers using all the current latest data that we have from the district. $10 million, you can do that based on the Bud Mahas plan. This is what the new high school is, right here. Okay, new high school, this came from you guys. New high school will have 2,450 students capacity in the new high school based on 353,000 square feet. The current high school is 323,000 square feet. This is from the Future Schools Committee report. What you'll notice is the very top option is to build a 325,000 square foot school. Why are we building one that's 30,000 square feet bigger? Take the 30,000 square feet, put it on the current building.
Thank you, your time's up. Finish your thought, please.
Put it on the current building and allow us the opportunity so the kids who are going there today can have the opportunities that they also deserve, not just in 4 years when the new building's done.
Hi, my name's Amanda Blazard. I live on the far reaches of the county at 7601 East State Road 35. I've been a kindergarten teacher and I'm now a first grade teacher in the district. I also am a direct descendant of 7 of the original families in the Heber Fort, the original one. Change is exceptionally hard, but I want to take my hat off to thank Superintendent and the board for making these heartbreaking decisions. This is hard stuff, and I want to thank you. Because I'm sure you lose sleep at night trying to make these decisions and doing the very best job. So thank you for that. I was blessed to be included as one of the committee members of many committees in constructing these plans, and I was so impressed by the research that was going into things, by the voices that were being heard, by the opportunities for the public to interact, for the kids to interact. It was great to see that the high schoolers themselves were able to interact in the process and that has been taken. I want to speak to those of you who are frustrated about not being heard and not being seen. In my past classrooms of 30 kindergartners, I felt like as a teacher, it was very hard for me to see those individual students daily. The high school was a mess. And those kids are not being seen and they're not being heard. And I want you to think of that, as I know you're so frustrated for this very same thing. Try to look outside of yourself to give our kids a better option. I feel that we need to offer schoolrooms where kids can be seen and heard. These folks have been trying really hard to come up with the best solution for that, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Talbot. I live at 1023 West, 825 South, Heber. I have 2 children in Heber Valley Elementary. I understand that this is all frustrating for a lot of people. I am certainly not highly educated, but I'm not stupid either. In this process, I kind of felt like I've been dumbed down. And for somebody of my ilk, I am very kind of confused as to this whole process. I voted, and I thought my vote counted. And I felt like with all this going on that my vote did not count. I am not against expanding a high school or making bigger room for children. I have two twin boys that are 10 that are going to be in high school soon. And I would love for them to have those opportunities. But I also have heard that we are understaffed with our dear teachers, that our schools have a lot of problems with that. And I'm thinking, with this school, how are we going to put staff in this school? I'm terrified. We already have a low teacher, we have a shortage. And I'm worried that even though we're gonna build this beautiful high school, where are these teachers gonna come from? How are we gonna get this done? How our taxes are gonna keep increasing to keep paying for all this? I understand you say that maybe the taxes aren't going to be impacted by this, but I guarantee you it is. I can see on my new tax estimate that even for the high school now, it's $1,000 extra that's coming up, and the majority of it is going to the school. And I was like, I'm all for that. I have kids. I want to pay my due. But wow, it's a sticker shock. And when we're already hurting and hurting bad, I gotta say, if you are in for our students and our community,
Thank you.
please
Time's up.
help us.
Thank you.
Isn't she 5?
You're
I'm
fine.
5.
You're fine.
Okay. I'm Diane Glenn. I live at 738 East Dutch Creek Court in Midway. And I am a mother of one of these numbers, 2 of these numbers at the high school that are they're faceless. No one knows them. I have served in this district for years since I got here, just so my kids could have a chance of being known. There's just no way. There's too many kids. So thank you for taking on this hard task of moving forward with a new school. My kids won't benefit from this, but future generations will. So thank you for doing that. I also like to be a good member of the community, and I like to be informed. I have taken the time to learn about all of the options that have been presented. I have attended meetings for a year on this. I have talked to neighbors. I have talked to everybody. I have talked to school board members. I feel really confident that you are doing the right job and you have made the right decision. I also, I'm an interior designer. I do commercial design. I know of projects that this has happened, this type of financing has happened at the U of U, and it is fantastic. It is brilliant. And thank you for being willing to step forward and doing this. It's something different. A lot of people don't know about this, but it works really well, and thank you for doing that. I have heard several comments that people did not feel like they have been informed. It is so hard to reach everybody. We are such a big community now. It's not the same from when I grew up. You know, we had 5,000 people here. But check social media. We've got flyers that were mailed to us asking us to come to meetings. The district has posted meetings. The schools have asked people to come to meetings. I mean, there have been multiple invites to come and get educated, and not a lot of people have shown up. And that, as a citizen, that's really frustrating. You can't be well informed if you don't come and participate. So please, take this opportunity to get informed and come. And thank you again. You're doing an awesome job.
Okay, that was 5, so we're gonna pause and see if there's any comments from the board.
I want to really quickly respond to Diane's comments. She talked about her son, and last year, she and I were in the teacher's lounge. She was doing some stuff for the high school teachers. And, her son was out on the picnic table alone, sitting there during lunch. And it was heartbreaking. And she was telling me about him. And it was really heartbreaking. He is definitely one that is getting lost in the shuffle. So sorry for sharing that story. You can reprimand me later. But I do want to share that. I know that's just, we talk, we talk a lot about the well-being of our students, and that is something we have to also take into consideration. Please. Thank you.
Court.
Doug, do you want to, or Matt, excuse me, if you'd come up and talk about how we think we can pay for this school, similar taxes, and not have an impact on the community's taxes? Because that's a fair question that was asked.
Yep.
You're going to pay for it. It's not like we're going to pull a rabbit out of our hat, but I want Doug to explain what our plan is.
So
Matt, excuse me.
Doug, Matt, it's either or, it's fine.
I like Doug better, but Matt, go ahead.
I like Doug better too. So, yeah, let's get, if you could, Stacy, to page 31. What you're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is a presentation that's presented to credit rating agencies. And I do want to commend the board for having a very strong credit rating. Not all school districts are like that. Also commend them for actually having comments during a public hearing. I've attended many public hearings, and not a lot of public bodies actually respond to comments. So I want to commend the board for that. But as we get to page 31, so in answer to the gentleman, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, sir, CPA by profession, questioning how, Andrew, thank you, we can fold in $150 million in new debt. I think it's good for the public to understand how this type of debt that school districts have or public bodies have. You can see there the various colors. The district has 4 bonds outstanding, and there's about 67 million actually outstanding currently. And you can see by the blue, yellow, and the purple that after fiscal year 2025, there's about what I call a debt service cliff, where the district's current debt payment, annual debt payment, like many of us paid debt through our mortgages, right, at same amount every month, And, by virtue of that, actually, by paying a fixed amount, even when there is inflation, at least those dollar amounts don't change, right? And that's a benefit we have holding mortgages, also a benefit to holding bonds is the payments are fixed regardless of inflation. And so how the district can issue $150 million and not raise your annual debt payments as a district is, you could see it right there. After fiscal year 2025, that 9 million, after 2024, fiscal year 2024, you could see there's a $9 million debt service cliff where the 13 million the district is currently paying goes down to about 4 million. What the plan would be is to fold in that debt service so that in aggregate, the new bond payment would be approximately, we can't be dollar specific, right? Because of interest rates, they change, but pretty darn close to that 14 million. And that would then carry through fiscal year 2036, in which we would see the old bonds fall off and then your debt payments would be less. So that's how school district bonds are structured, and it's kind of what we call a wrap structure where payments are wrapped around each other.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? All right, please proceed.
My name is Joseph Chenworth. I live at 980 Willow Way in Valley Hills. We voted against having a new high school when it was on the ballot. And we were told at the time we can add classrooms to the new school we already built. And I haven't seen any change in that building yet. But we're talking about building a new high school when we haven't used all of what we can do already. It's already been mentioned that if we add to the building that we have, it will cost far less than building a new building with teachers and staff and principals and all those things. We need to keep what we have, keep our kids together, and we need to stop this thing that's happening right now with this new school. We were told we can always add to the school we have, and we're not using it. By the way, I spent 8 years sitting where you folks are on the board. I was one of them. But we never did anything like this to the people who were depending on us to keep the taxes as low as we could and to keep things knowable. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your service as a school board member.
Good to see you.
Good evening. My name is Terry Shoemaker. I'm the former superintendent of this school district and worked with the boards of education there from 2001 when I was hired to 2016 when I left. I just have a few comments to make here. One of the things that I wish I'd have never said is that we could add on to that high school. But I did say it.
That was you?
That was me. Okay? I thought Superintendent Sweat did a nice job of explaining why we don't need to do that. I don't need to rehearse why. That building was sitting over there empty after we passed the bond in 2016. Why should we go spend 20 million or whatever the number was going to be? Certainly wasn't going to be 10, okay, to go ahead and add to that. That made no sense. That's the first thing. Second thing, I wish also now, in hindsight, I had my hip replaced 10 days ago, so thanks to those who let me go up here. I wish I'd have never said that we had cut the high school. Because one of the things we had to do, right, Keith, was make cuts to the high school because of the accelerating costs going on at the particular time. The auditorium was cut. There were many other things that were cut and reduced. The lunchroom was reduced. So to the comment about 323 versus 353, you're going to need the 353. Look at the enrollment increases. Look at also the other increases in population in this valley. That's wise, because if you have to wait and delay construction in succeeding years, I can promise you, not tell you, I can promise you, you will pay more. Not a little bit more, particularly right now, it will be a lot more. And the last thing I want to say is there's great reasons why there's an elected Board of Education. And I have immense respect for those who serve in these kinds of roles. We live in this republic, democratic republic, where we have elected people who represent all of us. I'm retired now. I'm just like you. I need them to listen to me, and you need them to listen to you. And then we have to trust that they know what they're doing because we elected them. Because we elected them. Last would be this group right here. I worked with all three of them. There are no finer people in the state of Utah. I also know they worked with many school districts who've done lease revenue bonds too. That group right there know what they're talking about. And so when these folks engage them into helping them make decisions, we ought to pay attention to it because there are no finer people that do these kinds of works in the state of Utah. Thank you for listening to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Shoemaker of 16 years as the superintendent. Thank you, Terry.
Okay, I agree with Superintendent Shoemaker, and I'm just going to sit down. My name's Suzanne Prince, and I live at 260 South 80 East in Midway. And I also want to thank the board. I'm grateful for the time you put into this. I know it's not easy. And I'm grateful I was on the Future School Planning Committee and for the time that was put there. And I know we can't all have our way, but I'm grateful for the effort that was given in listening and in the plans that were presented. It means a lot. And I'm grateful that we're looking for that best solution. That's our goal. And that's what we teach the kids. I'm in education. That's what we teach them. We teach them we can come together, we can disagree, and we can still be friends, and that we're gonna do what's best for the community. And that's our end goal, is what is best for this community, and how do we produce citizens who are gonna become effective adults in our community. That's our overall goal. I'm an educator, been in it for 17 years. I love it. I've been in Wasatch for 15 years of that. I left twice and came back. I'm smarter now. I'm not leaving again. It's fabulous. And students are at my heart. It's what I love, and it's why I'm here. I had the privilege of being transferred to the high school this year. My first year there, I have had 3 kids graduate in the last 5 years from Wasatch High School, and it has changed drastically in those 5 years. We have got such a strong administration in there right now. They are stellar, and I am impressed, and they need beacons because I can never find them because they run that school. They are running across that school trying to take care of the students and take care of the teachers and the staff. They love them, and they want them to be successful. Freshman first day was an eye-opener for me. 2/3 of our auditorium was full with freshmen. It was full. 2/3. Our first assembly day, we filled the nest to the walls and had hundreds of students in the hall. We could not get them all in the gym. You couldn't have an assembly with everyone there. And I was in the hall with those students who wanted to be in with their classmates celebrating the first day of school, watching the cheerleaders and participating, and they weren't able to be there because it's just too big. I had the opportunity the last 2 days to work with students who are struggling because that school is so big. Students who wouldn't go into the cafeteria to eat lunch because.
Thank you for your comment. Please finish.
Okay, because it was so crowded that can't go into the commons. It's more than about classrooms. And I'm just gonna end with, I'm on an educator's pay. I get it. But my husband always says we'll have to forego the Happy Meal to make better ways for our future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Drew Camp Swafford, 57 East Rainbow Way, Heber. I am also an educator at the high school. My only experience is at Wasatch High School, but I am from a small town in Utah. And so comparing my high school experience, which wasn't that long ago, to the current high school students, I just really want to stand here. I don't know why I'm emotional, but it's been a rough 2 days. Sorry. I also run the student government, as you guys all know, and I had the opportunity to walk and give the tours of the freshmen, of the tours of the high school with Mr. Bishop. And as I was talking with some of the freshmen, I was asking him questions. I'm sorry for getting emotional. I was asking questions about whether or not they wanted to get involved. And I probably had over 2 handfuls of kids say, it doesn't matter, no one's gonna know if I'm there or not. And it's heartbreaking that kids are entering our schools with that mindset before they've even started their first official day. So I'm standing here today as a teacher to say on a daily basis, I see this need and I'm so grateful for the school board. Whew, I don't cry. I'm so grateful for the school board because you guys are willing to make these hard decisions. We have these conversations with our students constantly. I'm a social studies teacher. This is what I love. I love to get them in debates and all these things. But I teach them to address things with an open mind. So thank you to the board for listening to the facts, for learning them, for hearing our stories, and for being examples to our students, for having giving us this opportunity, and for making the best educated decision for our students' future, not only academically, but also socially, mentally, and emotionally. I think that we are great academically, but we are going to lose so many of our kids socially and so many of our kids mentally and emotionally, and that's what is most at risk here. I get it, just like Suzanne just said, I get it. I had my family on my salary for the past 4 years, and it's hard. Like, we just barely were able to get into a house. It is hard, and I get it, but it is worth it for every single one of these students that are currently here and that will be here in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
My name's Jennifer Tringham, and I live in Heber. I'm kind of surprised. Well, let me first say that I don't think anybody is disputing the fact that we need to have another high school. My daughter, she attended the high school, and it was overwhelming for her, so she actually ended up going to North Campus. So I understand that we do need to have another high school. There's no disputing that. But my concern is this. So I come from a long line of educators. My dad, he has his doctorate in botany. My grandfather also had his doctorate in botany, and he worked in BYU. And he did a lot of work up on Timpanogos to try and preserve and conserve that area. And growing up, I was always told how sacred this area is, and especially the North Fields. The water, it goes through the North Fields, as you know, and it trickles down and goes into Provo Canyon, and it helps to feed the water down there in Utah County. So I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was so shocked that I was the only one that brought up the fact about the North Fields and just the ecosystem and how delicate it is. And then I saw that there was a post that was made, and there's a picture of a backhoe, it looks like, in the North Fields. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it looks like it's having a hard time. I mean, look at it. Right here, if you look, it says, that, what was it? This photo from the North Fields area where the school will be in the future, the survey crew was trying to obtain some soil samples, and it looks like the bulldozer is actually, I mean, you guys can see that, I don't know?
No, we can't.
I think it's important that we talk about this, that we discuss this. I mean, I was always told that the actual soil in the system there in that area, it's very delicate. And I'm surprised that we're even looking at the North Fields. Is there not another place that we could build a high school? I mean, we need to talk about the water. Education is important, but
Thank you.
what about the water?
Time's up. Please finish
Why are
your
we not
thought.
talking about our natural resources? I think it's important that we talk about that, we discuss it. It's not just about bonds, it's not just about money, because without water, it's gonna be really, really difficult to educate our kids, right? We need to talk about the water. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments from the board?
Yeah. I've been on the board for, 5 years. And for the first year or so, it was pretty good. It was pretty easy. Tyler calls me, he was thinking about running, says, what do you think? And I said, hey, it's pretty good. Go to a few meetings, make a few easy decisions.
One meeting a month, they said.
Yeah, not very hard. And then we went through the bond election. That was tough. That was hard on us. It's hard to be criticized. I know we're public officials, but it's hard to be attacked in that, and that's okay. That comes with the job. Then COVID hit. You know, people were very critical of decisions we made there. And again, that was hard. And now we go through this. So it's hard to be up here. And when we laugh about sleepless nights, that happens. This has been a really, really hard decision for us to make. It wasn't a cut and dried thing. I know people think it was. They smirk and say, oh yeah, you knew what you wanted to do. It has been a really hard decision for us. I'm cheap, I'll tell you right now. I watched the tax notices come out for at least a month. I'd go on their website every day and look, is it up? Is it up? Is it up? What's it gonna do to my taxes? Well, they went up, like everyone said they would. If in my heart of hearts, if I thought we could build a wing onto the high school and we could get through this, and people say, well, the growth's not really gonna come, or it's gonna be so expensive that they aren't gonna be able to have kids. We're just gonna have a bunch of second homes, you know, like Park City. I'm all in, believe me. I'd do that in a second if I thought that's where we were headed, because I do not wanna pay more in taxes. But what comes down to me is, I think the growth is coming. I think we're gonna have the students. If we add on to the high school, I think in 4 or 5 years, it's like, whoops, we gotta build another high school, sorry, we spent, you know, whatever money. Believe me, I like that option. And if I thought it would work, I'm all in, but I'm just not convinced that's the best thing for us. So, Joe, you're my friend, and we can agree to disagree, but I wanted to respond to you.
Thanks, Corey. Any other comments from the board? Okay, please proceed.
My name is Cameron Brown, 1120 Springer View Midway. I guess I have a flurry of things on my mind, but one of the things that I am getting a little bit frustrated with is the accusation that this board is trying to do something secret, something behind closed doors, whatever you want to call it. But to anybody who's saying that you haven't done your job, I'm going to say in sharp words, shame on you. Because I'm not a member of the school district. I'm not doing business with the school district. I'm just an average Joe in the community. And I have personally witnessed, without even trying and looking, all of the attempts that this district has gone to incorporate the community, collect opinion, and build a consensus. So that's kind of my preamble, I guess. But what I really want to focus on tonight is a couple of things that I've got jotted down here. There's been a lot of assertions of half-truths, secrecy, and I think that's really greatly miscalculated and potentially the result of some misinformation and disinformation that's out in the community. There are some unnamed but outspoken opponents of the Wasatch School District, and they seem hell-bent on thwarting whatever process may come to the surface as a solution. The threshold for need has been exceeded. I've heard it repeated. I don't think there's a question there. I was a member of the FSP project committee, and I was impressed, frankly, with how collaborative it was. It was deeply collaborative. Everybody shared opinions openly, and we all discussed options, and we crossed options off the list as they were invalidated for the needs of our community by voices from the community.
Thank you, time's up.
That's my 2 minutes.
Please
I didn't
You
get
can
your
finish.
speech, but-
Do you want to finish your thought?
Yes, I guess my parting thought is if you don't think it's been transparent and open, then you just haven't been paying attention. But this board has shown leadership, and they've made a hard decision that, as they've said, keeps them up every night. And I don't think any of you want to be in their shoes, making that decision, because if they don't make this decision, the next decision might be that they're sued into non-existence, the state takes over the school district, and who knows what happens when they haven't fulfilled their obligations. Thank you.
Thank you.
School board, Perry Dixon, 530 Pine Canyon Road, Midway. I've lived in the valley for a long time, 11 years. According to my friend who used to be on the school board, Bobby Salazar, you have to live here 30 years to consider yourself a local, and even then the locals won't consider you a local.
You gotta pull a hand card into the valley.
Yeah, totally. Can y'all hear me okay? I know one of the members in the school board, offended him once, so he probably wouldn't consider me a friend, but acquaintance. I don't have really any skin in the game. My wife's an educator, teaches 11th and 12th at the school. I can add some anecdote to that, but I can say everything I have to say is, we'll say, emotionally void. I was just curious, like, how many people in the room are part of the Wasatch County Taxpayers Association? Would you raise your hand? I just wanted to thank you guys that, as we go back in the second round of this, that it's going to cost $40 million. We talk about $40 million more. We talk about this being a representative democracy. We voted these people in. They don't get paid. They're volunteers. They put up with all this abuse. They listen to experts and analysts. These people would be audited and crucified if they had a biased opinion. Our school's overcrowded, and there are some solutions. I was a member of the FSP. I went through to every one of the meetings, like we talked about. We went down line by line. Okay, why this lot? Well, who here would want to know what the school lot was before the school board bought it so that they could crank the rate up knowing that the school board could bond for it, right? Like, would you want to know that ahead of time? Is that something we should be discussing out there? No, probably not. So they bought the land. It's a good piece of land. They've actually done geotesting. So beyond an anecdotal picture of a backhoe in the middle of the fields, they've had geotesting out there. They're going to have a corner of it that's going to be a biological study area, and the rest is a perfectly viable spot that isn't just in Midway, so it doesn't feel like Midway versus Heber. It's a very centralized location. It's been very thought out. The building architecture, everyone think is grandiose. You walk into that auditorium. How many of the people that think that auditorium is grandiose has been in there during a class change? Anyone? I've been there. I wouldn't want to walk through it. We went through every option. I'll just finish my thoughts. We went through every single option that you guys have talked about, including adding on to the school. It's not economically viable. It gets us another 2 years, and then we're talking about 2 more high schools. So, like, strap in. Anyone who is influenced by the Wasatch Taxpayer Association is a hypocrite because the person who organizes that group is a realtor selling the valley. Wasatch, just look at the facts. Look at what these people have done. They've listened to professionals. My wife teaches a class with 36 desks in it and 36 students. She gets 1 hour to reach those kids in English, to teach them a business email, to teach them how to apply for a job, to teach them how to do their resume. And you want her to reach 36 kids in 1 hour? Why don't we be a community that comes together, that trusts the people that are professionals that we have elected, we had choices, and let them do their freaking job and we're overpopulation. We're behind the 8 ball. It's $40 million more than it was in November, and I don't know why we're crying about spilled milk on that.
All right.
Okay,
All right, we agree. All right, go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Melissa Brown. I'm at 1120 North Spring Review Loop. I'm an educator. I do the online school. I will tell you on a daily basis that I walk the halls and see why we need another school. It is obvious. We've all agreed to that. So instead of arguing about whatever method the voted on committee, who are Democratic Republics, I taught government, I understand we're a Democratic Republic, they're the ones we voted on. Let's just get behind this decision, because you know who we're offending while we argue about this? Our students, our children, okay? They know we're arguing about it. They've read it. They can read just as well as we can. We've taught them to read. We have done that. And they can read on social media better than the rest of us can in this room. So they know that we don't want to build a school for them. They know that we want to argue about how much it's going to cost. They know that we want to argue about it. And they feel that. And when they don't feel loved and they don't feel appreciated and they walk through the halls alone on a daily basis, because there's so many people, but they're alone. There's so many people, but no one sees them. There's so many people that when I walk through the halls, I can't say hi to everybody. I can't even address the fact that there are students there and appreciate them being there and say thank you. There's no way. They know. So let's get behind this decision. Let's be a community that loves our children because they need it. The pandemic was harder on them than anyone else, and they are suffering. And if you work with them, you will see their suffering. And so let's stop arguing about this, because the kids know and they feel it. And they feel that hatred. So if we could just come together as a community and love our students, they would love it. They would be appreciative. They're the ones that serve us. They're in the restaurants. They're doing everything for us, and we should serve them so that they can be the people they should be.
Are we at 5? Where are we?
No, 3.
3. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, my name is Sheldon Schmidt, 776 North Center Street in Midway. And I'm not against the schools, and I'm really not for it either. I've been here 31 years, and I don't trust politicians and what they say, and they tell me my taxes aren't gonna go up. They will. I came from California. I've lived here 31 years. Easy. I lived here 31 years, and I was coming out here in 75. So I'm not brand new. But everything that I've seen in this state so far and what's going on is exactly the same thing that happened in California. You kept on raising taxes. You have an open pocketbook. And what do you need something? You go to the taxpayers. We need to raise their taxes. You're driving people right out of their homes. And the same thing is going to happen here. And it's going to happen until you get a Jarvis-Gann Act of Proposition 13, where you can stop all this spending. You have to live in a budget. We need to live in a budget, and you need to get used to being in a budget. That's all. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kendra Giles, 2120 Little Sweden Road in Daniels. And I would just like to ask you about the property in the Northfields. Why do we have to build a school there when you have the 70 acres out by the college, which would be more feasible because of all the kids that take college classes? Leave the Northfields alone. We don't need a school. We don't need the bypass road. We just need to protect some open space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. That's 5. Okay. Any comments from the board?
Okay, so I just want to respond, and it's kind of just to clarify, it's little stuff, but I'm hoping little stuff builds trust. One, for all transparency, we volunteer a lot of hours, but we get paid $250 a month and a $100 travel stipend, and some of us get insurance, okay? So I just want to clarify that, because I know there was a Wave editorial saying we get $300 for every committee meeting we go to, and we don't. Okay, so that's how much we get paid. Do we have a lot more hours than one would ever think, and a lot more meetings, right, than we ever thought we would have? Yes. Do we do it not for the money? Yeah. Do we do it for our community? Yeah. I do want to respond just because the teacher in me, I always told my students this, and I want this to remain respectful. I truly do. It is every citizen's right and responsibility to question those in authority. I said that to every government class, every history kid I taught. So I have personally no problem with questions. I have no problem at all. I don't take it personally. I don't want it to get personal, guys. These are our jobs. And yeah, we put up a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but our job is to be questioned, and that's okay. We have to respond to that. Like the gentleman, I think he's left. Our job is to provide the information to you, so you know we're doing our job. So I just want to make it clear, none of us are like, oh crap, don't ask questions. Please ask questions. Entities need to be questioned because of their authority. That's your job and your right as citizens. So thank you for being here. I just wanted to point that out. Northfields, does somebody else want to respond to that? Or do you want me to? Because I will gladly. Don't
I
worry.
would like superintendent to actually respond to some of that, so.
Well, I think it's a bit of a misnomer that, that it's out in the middle of the North Fields. The school board was able to purchase 6 different parcels of ground. If you look on the county map, it actually shows 10 parcels, but we bought property from 6 different landowners to put this school site together. I wish I had a video of civil engineer that does a lot of work for the school district, Paul Berg. He's well known in this county. He's very well respected. He helped us in finding a location that would work for the school district. We do need to be able to hook up to the sewer. The health department is against us having basically our own sewer system, if you will. A large enough septic system for that many students is not something they would endorse. So we have to have certain hookups, we have to have a certain amount of space, and we have to keep student safety in mind. And those 6 parcels that were bought, 3 of them were already in either wholly or partially inside of the Heber city limits. The other 3 are inside of the Heber annexation zone that's to be annexed. The site backs up against Heber City. The adjacent property line on the east side of the property backs right up against the city and other city businesses or entities that are already there. So it's not out in the middle of the North Fields. It's directly across the street from all the development that the county has already done to the south, which are Ball Diamonds, the event center, and so on. We think it's we think it's an appropriate site. There's only 1.79 acres of wetlands. The Army Corps of Engineers have made that final delineation, and they have given us already prior approval to put a boardwalk over the top of that and around it and use it for a living laboratory as part of the school system. There'll be two or three small spots that'll be mitigated back with this larger piece. It's already built into the school site plan. Most of where the school will be built is a farm that has been producing alfalfa hay. Anybody that knows anything about farming, and there's lots of farmers, even part-time farmers in this valley, knows that you can't raise alfalfa hay in wet ground. It kills it. So we think that it's a great site. We also think it's a great site for the safety of our kids. As you look at other options, which, you know, the sewer hookup alone really limits where we can build a school. And I'm telling you, we looked at every nook and cranny of this county to try and find an appropriate spot. The North Highway is a dangerous highway. We've had several people in our community killed on that highway in recent years. And the thoughts of 1,500 plus students driving out on the North Highway with the current conditions is not a pleasant thought for the board, and not a safe place for us to build. What else? So we do believe that it is a much safer spot. This school, you know, we'll have a boundary committee that fine tunes it, but primarily it will serve the students of Midway and the students of West Heber. And we think it's very nicely situated that both the Midway students and the West Heber students consider that their home school. We had a number of people tell us, don't build the school so far away from the population that it doesn't feel like home to anyone. In some studies that we did long ago, I think I've covered most of it. All of those students from Midway drive across Midway Lane every morning to go to the current high school. We've done a traffic study. More than likely, there'll be a turn lane added and a light, and it will be a safe process to get across Midway Lane and for those kids to turn into the school. So, did I miss anything?
Oh, you got it, thank you.
I think that's pretty thorough. There might be a few other things, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so we're at an hour and a half, am I right?
2.
Oh, we're at 2. So we're gonna break for 5 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and pick up right where we left off. All right? Thank you. We're missing Keith, but he'll find his way back in. All right, please proceed.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Disher. My address is 9522 Deer Creek Drive. Also, I am the principal at Old Mill Elementary here in town. And I just want to say, I agree with Mary Ann. I am the wife of a history teacher, and I've watched enough documentaries and fell asleep enough to the History Channel to know that this should be celebrated. This whole process should be absolutely celebrated, that we get to do this. And I think it's amazing that you are all asking for all this input and willingly and wanting and actually needing all this input from all sides. And I think before you can make decisions like this, all parties and opinions within the community need to be considered. So I'm with you. I think this is amazing. And can that be noted somewhere and get back to my husband?
God bless America.
Thank you. I know this isn't a popularity contest, and you guys did not come forward and do this for a popularity contest. And so I just want to say, I thank you for your bravery, your patience, your collaborative spirit. And I think you must be just a little bit crazy, because I don't know that I would want to do that. And as it was said earlier, this is a what?
Talk to my wife.
Should I? I will. I will see her. I will talk to her. It is a democratic republic, and we vote for who we want to represent us. And so I voted for Kim Dickerson, and there she sits. And as my representative, I've spoken to her personally. I've spent tons of time with her. And then I just see her in the schools. I see her involved, as all of these board members are, coming to our schools, talking to teachers, talking to community members, talking to parents. And I can tell that she deeply cares based on her intentional interest to learn and inform herself. And so that I can just observe from your actions, not just your words. So I thank you as my representative for that. I have obvious interest in all this process, and I just want to say that as a democratic republic, all thoughts and input has been shared. I think one thing to celebrate, we've all landed on, we think we need new school or space, and I think that's something to be celebrated. And now I just want to say I completely trust you from this process. I've informed myself. I trust you to make the right decision for our school district, so thank you. Thank you.
Tracy Taylor, I was not going to get up tonight, quite honestly, because there's plenty of people to talk, and as you guys know, sometimes I'm the only one here to have a comment, so I was not going to get up, but again, I feel like I need to defend myself a little bit. Yes, I am the real estate broker, Tracy Taylor. I've been a broker for 25 years in this community, back when homes were $150,000, okay? And I don't think anybody would have wanted to been a real estate broker between 2008 and about 2014. And now there's about 2,000 agents within our area. So, new ones, right. So my point is that the Wasatch Taxpayers Association is a voice for the taxpayers and the people in the community that feel like they don't have a voice. And it's definitely needed in the community in all aspects. I'm at Heber City, I'm over at the county a lot. Yesterday I was at the county council trying to fix their property taxes problem. So I volunteer, it's totally volunteer. But the thing is that there's people outside that have contacted me, came over to me and they said what they want to see, and I'm just telling you what people are coming asking for. You guys say you want to talk some more. You guys say you want public input. They're saying we need to have another meeting, an open house with the Taxpayers Association and the school board and anybody who wants to come at like the senior center where we can all talk. And let's talk about options and what the best options are. I have somebody who asked me a question, and I don't know the answer. So nobody has asked, what will happen if property taxes go down and the board cannot increase the levy to pay this bill? And so if there is a limit to how much they will raise the levy. Is there somebody that can answer that for me? What happens if the values go down?
Thank you, Tracy. Your time's up. Please finish your thought.
Finish your thought. finish your thought, Tracy.
Well, I would like an answer to that question because it's been asked numerous times and nobody seems to
Yeah,
answer
well,
that.
It's noted, we'll get to it.
No, we will have them,
After the 5 people
Yes.
go.
we will
in the
get your
structure of
question
our
answered.
meeting.
Okay, last thing I want to say.
Please.
I just heard at the state level, they're going to have a bully czar for every school district. That's what they're talking about having because districts need help with bullying. And quite honestly, I'm very disappointed in the demeanor. I've been in this room many times. I've been attacked by school board members 3-4 years ago. Directly. I think the bully czar needs to start right in this room, and we have people contacting us going, I can't show up to these meetings because I don't want retaliation. And that has happened. We get phone calls like that. So that is my suggestion to the school board, is I think we start at the top with the bully czar, and then the children will reflect the adults. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
I'm Ronald Crittenden. I appreciate the opportunity to, 2 minutes pretty quick, but I've been in both city, county, state, and federal positions of either elected or working for elected officials in all levels. And I have learned that many times the information you get is different than us that help drive your decisions. I'm sure you're making the best decision based on what you want to have happen or your perspective or whatever, and we don't always see that. So I think if you've got anything that's helping you make a decision different than the citizens voted on just a few years ago, you need to share that with us so we can understand your thinking, because it doesn't make sense to me. I've read the second option that the subcommittee come up with that's on the Taxpayers Association site. Makes all the sense in the world. I've got an economics degree and I've been an accountant of one kind or another my whole life. It makes a lot of sense to use the additions built into the school that you built, that you promised you'd use and haven't. I think you need to do everything you can. As I grew up, ended up with 7 kids, and we needed a Suburban. I don't know, Suburban's not the greatest efficient vehicle, but we needed the space to drive our family around. Well, we didn't go buy a Cadillac Suburban. We bought as economical a used one as we could. Sometimes there's things that even maybe the kiddies want, more space, and the teachers want more of this or that or the other. But we don't always, I don't go into debt for anything, never have in my whole life, never even borrowed for a car. And yet you imposed debt on me with a tax burden that I don't even, not even 51% of this county supported the last time you asked us. And as much as I appreciate the hard job you got and everything else and respect you as individuals, I don't appreciate the daggone, I about used another word, end run around the citizens. It's wrong, wrong, wrong. You can build a more economical school if you try.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for your service.
My name is Breanne Diedrichson, and I live at 2311 South, 500 East Heber. I'm 5 houses down from Daniels Canyon Elementary, and I have 3 kids, a 2nd grader and a preschooler and an almost 3-year-old who'll be headed that way in a couple years. And I'm here tonight as a parent, and I want to say thank you. I appreciate the process, and I appreciate the work that you have been doing. I was involved in the Future Schools Committee, and I spent a year of my own personal time, and I feel like the board and the district have been transparent, and the public has had every opportunity to voice their opinion, to be involved in the process, and I appreciate the chance to have a voice. I've met with my own school board member, Marianne Allen. We've talked in depth, and I've talked with multiple other board members, and I feel like as a citizen of this county, I have had a chance to inform myself and become educated about the issue. And we looked at a bunch of different options during that year-long process with the Future Schools Committee. And I feel like the majority has spoken. You're right, other options were looked at, and the 70 people on that committee were in favor of a new high school, and that was the recommendation. And in the survey that was sent out to the community, 78% were in favor of the lease bonds revenue, what we're doing. So I appreciate having a voice, and I appreciate you taking the recommendation of the majority of the community and doing what's best for students. You are not circumventing the process. We are doing something that is legal, that has been done, and is needed to expedite our solution to the problem we have in this valley right now, which is accommodating all the growth. We can pay now or we can pay later, but we're gonna pay less now. We can educate now, but if we do not take action, we will not continue to offer the high quality educational opportunities we're offering. We've gotta take action so we can keep the high quality education we offer to every single student. And I believe this is the most fiscally responsible choice. I've done my own homework. I've taken the time to talk to my board member.
Thank you, time's up, please.
I'll finish my comment, thank you. I know it's a hot issue and there's a variety of opinions. And I had a nice conversation with Mr. Mickelson in the lobby. I would just say, please take the time to talk to the board because they are listening and I appreciate that. And I want this opportunity for my kids. I trust you 100% and I'm all for the option you've proposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Abby Covarrubias, and I just graduated from high school, Wasatch High School. I was last year's student body president, and I wanted to thank the board. Thank you guys for letting this opportunity happen and allowing me to express my thoughts. So I just wanted to come here for like a student's perspective. And as a student in Wasatch High School, it was really beneficial as I saw all the classes, my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And I have heard that there is an option to create another campus for our freshmen. And my opinion of that is, as a freshman, I looked up to the seniors a lot. And I was able to do theater, and I was never thinking I'd do theater. And throughout all my extracurriculars, I saw the seniors, and they inspired me to work hard. I saw the student body president. I was like, oh, I want to become a student body president. I want to be involved. And so with that perspective of seeing everyone, it really helped me and guide my choices. I also am really appreciative of our teachers that work really hard. And with the crowded schools and everything, they've done their best like while they can. And I know that as my students and as in the student body, I've heard lots of people talk about how the crowdedness does distract them from living in a community, from living in a school that could provide the best education. And so, yeah, I think it's most beneficial that as we go forward with this decision that we just listen to our students and our kids' wants, and this is truly their school, and you guys are our parents in helping us decide the future, because we are the future. And so I'm thankful for this opportunity, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, that's 5. Jerry, if you want to pause for a second.
Sure.
Any comments from the board?
I think we should address the freshman center.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go first. So the option for the freshman center, when I weighed it out, this is what came to my mind, okay? So it pulls out, let's say 600, 700 students. That's what we have this year, somewhere between we don't have the official count, but it's somewhere between 600 and 700 students. So let's say we created a freshman center today. We're pulling out 600 students. I'll go with the lower amount. That still doesn't create the space that we need. The other thing is we want our freshmen to be with the other students. They take the same classes. They have a better offering, so they're able to take the same classes with the other students. I mean, a lot of the classes are mixed in with all grades. Okay, so we want them together. Creating a center maybe just for freshmen, or another thing that was brought up was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. We want to pull them out of those middle years. They're ready for high school. And so those are just a few of the things that were on my mind as far as a freshman center goes. So maybe other board members can add to that.
Well, I do. I think when we're looking at it, and people that we spoke to that had experience with a freshman center, that it put them out on an island, and it isolated those kids and separated them from the rest of the population. Almost felt like they were in a prison. in a lot of ways. So there was a lot of negatives for the freshman center that we looked at.
I guess on freshman center, I'll just say this. Because I used to teach 8th and 9th grade, and then I moved up to the high school in the district that I was at. It's a philosophical difference in education, having a 9th grade center versus including them at the junior high level, the high school level. It is a philosophical difference. Paul has talked about his goals for this district, and his goals for this district is to bring up academic excellence. And the basis of that is having a 9 through 12. And that is what we support. That is what the data is supporting. And that's where we're at. It's a philosophical difference, and we could definitely talk about it basically the rest of the night. But that's my take on it. It's a philosophical difference. And Paul could probably speak to that even more if he wants to.
Some of the things that they miss out on primarily would be the CTE classes. For some of us that have been around a long time, that's vocational. If they're in a freshman center, it's hard to duplicate a wood shop, a metal shop, the home ec room, all those CTE classes, which there's a whole lot of technical classes and so on. I don't think there's any question. We, as part of the Future Schools Committee, we had the superintendent of Alpine School District speak to us. They are a district that they have 70-something thousand students. They're 10 times our size. They do have junior high settings for the most part, and he relayed to us, he said, we would love to go back to 4 grades in our high schools. He said, it's too far gone. It's too far past where we can do that. They've got a lot of building to do, and he told us the same thing. I believe it's academically better for the 9-12 situation. And that's really what you'd hear around the state if you check with other districts. It's what we believe. We believe our PLCs work better. When the freshman English teacher is sitting in a meeting every Monday afternoon with the sophomore English teacher and so on. When we're able to do some vertical teaming that way, we're all in the same school together. It's just more academically sound.
Superintendent, can you somehow briefly explain what a PLC is? Because
It's a collaborative process where teachers get together, they have a common formative assessment, which means they all give the same test, they compare their scores. If one teacher is scoring higher than the others, then it's up to that teacher to help the other teachers understand why they're doing better on that standard and objective. And it's very seldom that one teacher's always higher. It depends on the objectives of the week, but it's a nationwide phenomenon at this point, and we have some very high-functioning PLCs, and the academics in this district are stellar, and especially when you consider our demographic footprint. And we're moving up, and we have big goals to continue to move up, and we do think the 9-12 is the best suggestion. And I believe the proposal that had the freshman center did include replacing the high school, the junior high that we're currently using for overflow. And our third party experts, and as the board studied that and looked at it, and as the committee studied that and looked at it, they just didn't feel like it would give us enough runway moving forward, that it would solve our problems for 2 to 3 years. Even if it was 5 to 8 years, we would then be back asking for this huge chunk of money for a second high school.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I address?
Did we want to have Matt talk about
yeah. Yes.
I forget the question.
The Tracy's question about the levy.
If it goes down.
Is Tracy here?
Yeah, the question about what happens if the taxes go down.
If the assessed valuation.
If assessed value goes down.
Yeah.
Certainly, that is a great question, and in the state of Utah, we have what's called the certified tax rate system, where a public entity is essentially, I don't know if guaranteed is the right word, but basically through taxing, able to generate at least the tax revenue that it did the prior year. And that's plus new growth, thank you, Keith. So with that system, and that applies both to cities and counties and certainly school districts. So in a case where, let's say, heaven forbid, home values go down substantially, and probably a lot of us experienced that a decade ago during the credit crisis, by law, public entities are able then to raise whatever levy they need to get the same revenue they did the previous year.
Good, thank you.
Tracy, and if we need to put that in writing for you so you can help answer questions, we're happy.
That would be awesome.
Happy to
Okay,
do
we
that
can
for
do
you.
that. And
No, go.
do you have more comments on?
No?
I was just looking at notes. So, and Tracy, I know, I'm just gonna respond to Tracy. Know that I value your input. I know you put a lot of time and effort into it. It's a value, and it goes back to the same thing I said before. It is your right and your duty as a citizen to question those in authority. And Tracy's organization helps us do that, and it's fine. It is what it is, guys.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the check
There's
and balance
nothing
system,
wrong
for
with
sure.
it. She is a check on this community. And different voices are in our community. And we need to be respectful of that. That's just my comment to that. Ron, I just want to point this out. 3 years ago, I voted no for my own personal reasons. 1,300 other people voted no for their reasons. I know a lot of the reasons I heard were because we combined it. It was 2 schools. So we heard that, and it's a 1-school deal right now that we're building. There are a lot of different reasons. So that's what I would say is different from 3 years ago. And the fact that we've gone through a process trying to listen to the public and see their input and get their input. As for the additions, Paul has spoken to that as well. I want to point this out because I don't think it's widely known. We have 8 high school teachers, and I was a high school teacher, using carts every day. Their classroom is on a cart. And when another classroom has a prep hour, that teacher rolls their classroom to that prep hour classroom. And their next classroom, they roll it to the other prep hour classroom. So I just want that to be known. Our teachers are superheroes, and they are going above and beyond. So I just want to point out, we have tried to create space wherever we can, truly. Like, realize the education quality is high because of the people teaching, but we also have to be respectful of the fact that we need classrooms and we need space, and we need it sooner rather than later. And I know a lot of people don't know that. That's why I'm bringing it up. Paul's talked to why we're not doing the additions. Terry's brought it up. So I just wanted to respond to that part and put that out there. Paul?
I would just add, the other thing that's different than 2019 is we have added over 300, let me say approximately 300 students to the high school since 2019 when the bond failed. That's not counting this year. And from what I saw with my own eyes and what our administrators are, we're not gonna say because, you know, everything we say gets recorded and played back to us. And so we're gonna wait until we get the final numbers, which won't be for at least 10 days after the 10-day drop happens. But we're gonna add a big number, is my prediction, to the 300 students that we've added just since the 19 bond failed.
And we went through COVID, so that messed with some.
Most every high school in the state went through declines during COVID except for Wasatch High School, which continued to add students.
You know, I have one more quick example of the freshman center and how it is not necessarily a great idea for freshmen. So I live with a freshman, and yeah, I know. Tell me about it. And I also live with a junior. And so when my son was in 5th grade, the second middle school wasn't built. And so that middle school, Rocky Mountain, was at capacity. And so they took the 5th graders out of the elementary school and they put them in the West Campus and made it a 5th and 6th center. And so here's my 4th grader turning into 5th grader going to basically middle school. Didn't experience 5th grade in elementary. I have a 5th grader right now that's in Midway Elementary School, middle school too. And I just look at the maturity. He had to grow up. He had to be with 6th graders. He got out of his element, which was the elementary school, which he was very comfortable in, and it stretched him. And I think he is the kid that he is today because of that, and along with other things that we're trying to do as parents. I look at my current freshman. He's been in, so he didn't have that experience, and then he was in 8th grade last year. And it's time for him to grow up. And I've seen in the last 2 days just his attention to the responsibility that he feels and just that weight of, I'm in high school now, I'm in a very crowded commons area, I'm in a school with seniors and I'm a freshman, and he's taken note. And so you can discuss the pros and the cons, just but from a personal standpoint as a parent, I want my 5th grader to be stretched and to understand sooner than later that there's opportunities and responsibilities. And Jack was forced to do that going into that intermediate school. Will is forced to do that. If my freshman went into a freshman center this year, it would be a disservice to him socially. He wouldn't grow the way that he needs to grow to be career and college ready at the time he graduates. And I'm concerned about that as a parent. And so I'm glad that he has a chance to be in a high school that's overcrowded right now, to have him be stretched socially. And just figured that might be a good antidote for the group. Okay, Jerry, you're up.
Thanks. Is this on?
You bet.
I'm going to take a little different tack than I don't know what's best for the students necessarily. I kind of know what's best for the taxpayers because I've been one for probably longer than almost anybody in this room. Joe and
Jerry.
A couple more might be older. But anyway, I've been conflicted with this because I've been working for 2 years to try to get the tax situation fixed in the county, and it's been a mess. People have been paying way over what they should have been. Other people have been getting a free ride, and no, I'm not saying anything bad because it wasn't their fault that they were getting a deal, but they were. And we've got some real, it's still not being corrected. We're still not, I suspect we still got, they say 20%, but I know the ones that were assessed weren't assessed at market value, some at various stages of it. So we're probably still out, where we've got 40% that are out of market value, I'm guessing. And I know some on the board have gone up and some haven't. So you know that it's not all done. But anyway, I'm concerned about what the taxpayers have been dealing with, especially those that have been disproportionate, because 20%, or those that have been in a situation where their market value paid 10 times more the increase over those last 5 years than the others has. So I think that's a problem. Right now we've got, I did a per student cost throughout the state, and we're at 3 times the state average. Our average per student is $3,889 for voter and board. That's the operational budget, and we're
Thank you,
that
Jerry.
much
Your
over.
time's up.
We're
Please finish your thought.
almost equal amount over on the capital, not as quite as high on the capital, but we're right at the high now, and we're going to raise them. We've either got to take control of the institute, in district, the what do you call it? It's the voter and the board levy are the ones that are way out of control. We've had tax increases. We've come to truth and taxation meetings. We don't get a vote on that. We don't get a vote on any of that stuff. It's a democratic republic. We don't get a vote. The only thing that we have ever got a vote on was whether we pay for a bond or not. And that's been That has been traditional. I don't like what's happened here, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that have endured these tax increases. We have to balance what we do here with taxes and things we want in the school. That's not been on balance if you look at the state funding. It's not been on balance. And I don't think we can sustain both. We can't have everything we want on that end and build everything we want on the other end. We have to make some compromises and do things that we can afford, because the taxpayers aren't going to put up with it, I'll tell you. And there's things they can do. I think some of you know what they are. And anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Molly Brown, and I'm here to show my support of the board. I'm a Wasatch County resident, Wasatch County educator, and I have my own young kids just beginning their academic careers with Wasatch County. When the original bond didn't pass, I cried tears of defeat for our students. However, when I heard the recent news, I cried tears of happiness for my own children and all of the students in our elementary schools and all that are to come. I greatly appreciate the board's decision to move forward with accessing funds now for the future education of our students in the Valley. So as a resident educator and parent, I fully support this decision and the proactive forward thinking of the board. Thank you, board. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I wasn't going to come up here. Jerry Owens from Midway. I've lived here 38 years, single parent. Raised my boys up here. One of them passed away. He's buried up in the cemetery here. And I appreciate you guys. I don't always agree with you, but I appreciate you. And I appreciate all the people here. Some I agree with, some will agree with me, disagree. Here's the deal. I'm a vet. I quit college to go to war because my father had 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star fighting the Germans, see? I never got to know my dad. He was too messed up when he came back. But here's the deal. I came here with my sons and that. I bought a home that nobody wanted, foreclosure. I won't tell how low it was. It's pretty cheap. But guess what? My boys worked their little fannies off. I worked, and now the house is worth lots of money, right? Guess what? My taxes went up 84% one year, 35% the next year, 33% the next year. And then this year, I'm still trying to fight them, but they got it way up there, okay? Here's the deal. Here's the deal. And I want you guys to answer me, because when I went and talked to the tax people, I said, why is this happening? Oh, the schools are growing. The schools, that money goes to the schools and the kids. And then you know what they said? You're paying for the illegal kids. 130 countries, or 60 or 130 kids from all over the world are coming here. Guess who's paying their medical? You are. Guess who's paying their education? You are. And me. And so here's and guess what? They're taxing me out. I can literally not afford to pay taxes on my home. So if it burns down, I'm in a tent. I work my butt off. I'm 75. I work at the, quote, Christian Center, and I see more and more illegals coming. More and more illegals coming from all over the world. Now, are they bad people? I don't know. They're going over the border. We have legal ways to get here. Why don't they come legally? Why are they stealing my money?
Thank you, Jerry. Your time's up.
How many people
Please
are illegal
finish your
going to school?
thought.
Answer me.
Sir,
how many illegals are going to school here that I'm paying for? Do you know? Do you know?
Sir, we need to be sensitive with this topic. I'm sorry.
Sensitive?
You've had your
How
2
about
minutes.
sensitive to me? I'm paying for their schooling.
It's not on them.
Thank
And
you,
then here,
Jerry.
Answer is
if
we don't
you
know.
guys really are for democracy and you want votes, let's vote for this.
Our
Vote for
job,
this. Get
our
it?
job is to educate all kids. That is our job.
I'm Alan Thronson, live at 423 North, 1300 East here in Heber. Glad I came tonight. I wasn't going to talk, but I learned a lot, so I just wanted to share with you what I've learned. I learned tonight the democratic process is sacred until it's not. We elected you, but we also voted 3 years ago, that we didn't want another high school. I learned that we need another football, volleyball, soccer team, etc. for kids to get a good education. I've learned that 2 schools are better than 1, and even a third was talked about maybe being needed if we didn't build a second. I don't follow that logic. I learned that to bring students together, divide them into 2 schools. I've learned that the end justifies the means. I've learned that if you don't do anything long enough to address the increasing enrollment, you can get what you want in the end and get a new high school. I've learned that when you address the problem for half as much, go ahead and pay twice as much. I've learned that I should just shut up and pay my taxes. But there's something that I want you to learn. I'm a taxpayer, and you're spending my money.
Thank you. I think we're at 5? That's 4, okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm number 5. My name is John Scheid. I live at 525 North, 600 West. And I get the brunt of a direct impact from you guys because I'm looking at a map. And on that map, what you were proposing in this new school, where you're putting 2 soccer fields and a baseball field and a softball field. I don't know what the little thing with the triangle is there. But that road that's right there is on my property. And I don't know, nobody's come and talked to me. Are you guys going to implement eminent domain rights to be able to use that road? It's my road, it's my property. I had a survey done before I bought the property, and it was recorded. And the last survey that was done prior to mine was way back when they were doing rods and chains. So my property has been recorded. And what I'm seeing here on this map is you guys are utilizing a road that goes onto my property, and it, nobody's come and talked to me, and I don't know if the city is planning on using eminent domain or if you guys are using eminent domain. But I'd like to know. That's number 1. Number 2, again, I don't disagree with the need for a new school. I just don't know that you need to go quite so big and have quite so many things. Maybe it's just me, but I grew up in a small town in Wyoming. And, I went to school and I graduated and I've gone on and I had a successful life. I served in the military for 33 years and I served my country otherwise as a civil servant. And, I didn't find any disadvantages in my school because I didn't have everything that everybody thought I should have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time's up.
Thank you.
So before you leave, sir, you mind telling me your name again?
John Scheid, S-C-H-E-I-D.
E-I-D. And what piece would you be adjacent to? Who's your neighbor that's? We'll check into this. Maybe you could see me after. Which
the road?
Yeah.
Right there where the ball fields are?
This one right here?
This one right here.
Mm-hmm.
I own half that road.
That goes back to Nick Prevost.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's talked to me.
I'll get with you.
Could we get
that's
his
a concept
information?
plan, and
not
the
a plan.
Heber City had some input on it. If you own that road, then we will talk with you. We do not plan to eminent domain it.
Yeah, not at all.
We should get his information.
Yeah, please.
You got it.
We got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so comments from the board, just to give you a heads up, Chris, we're gonna let everybody go first, and then you can finish it up once everybody's had a chance. Additional comments for the last 5 that we've discussed?
I'm gonna, sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but.
Nope.
Jerry, I think, I just want to respond to Jerry on this. The county issue, wherever he is, Jerry, the county issue is huge and it impacts every single local entity in this valley. And your blood, sweat, and tears has not gone unnoticed, definitely not by me. So thank you, because it is a huge issue. And you have put in a lot of hours to try and help them. So I do appreciate what you've done because it allows us to budget properly. It allows the county, the cities, everyone. It needed to get done, so I'm just gonna go out on Mary Ann's limb and say thank you for that. And yeah, but obviously we'll talk about your property big time.
Actually, I do have something.
Yeah,
We educate all kids.
yes.
We
that
love
too.
all of our kids.
Thank you for,
I don't
Doesn't matter
care
how
where they
got
come
here.
from.
We educate them.
yep.
We love them and we
Amen.
educate them.
That's right.
Thank you.
We feed them breakfast, we feed them lunch, we get them to school, we get them home to school, we take care of them when they're sick. Everything that goes into education is something that we take extremely serious. And we turn no family or any child away. I mean, public education is the great equalizer.
Public education is slightly socialist. It is. That's just how it is. That's
And we're
what we
happy
want.
to do it. All right, please proceed.
I'm Joe Mellon. I live at 1031 West 825 South in Heber City, and I am a father of a recent graduate of Wasatch High School and have two students that currently go there. I also teach at the high school, and I just wanted to come and offer my support and thanks to the board and to the superintendent. I think they have a vision for educating our students well here in Wasatch County, and they've constantly put that at the forefront of what they've tried to do. They've gone to bat for teachers and making sure that we could pay teachers a salary that would help them to be able to live here in this valley and to be able to retain good, highly educated, well-performing teachers so that we give our students the best education possible. This building is needed to further that goal, to help our students to have the very best education possible. And it does need to be a comprehensive high school because being a part of a football team or a volleyball team or the dance company is part of their comprehensive education. It matters in their life and it helps them to be able to learn the values that they need to be a successful citizen and contributing citizen to our communities. If we want our community to continue to be successful and grow, we need to put the money right where we are to help our students be the best that they can be. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
I'm Ryan Bishop. I live off 3600 East in Wasatch County, and I'm an assistant principal at Wasatch High. And I just want to humbly tell Kim thank you for her comment just a minute ago. There's a saying nationwide about all means all in the public education system, and all means all at Wasatch High. Thank you, Kim, for setting that tone. I want to thank the board, I want to thank Superintendent Sweat, and I want to thank the directors for pressing forward with this school. But I got up here tonight to thank our teachers, and Miss Camps Wofford's going to make me emotional, and I've been emotional since she talked, because they're living this every day, And I have an opportunity to be in her classroom today, where kids were sitting in the windowsills, and they were engaged. And I had the opportunity to be at the assembly and see the 200 kids spilling out in the halls, and our administrators and our teachers getting them to where they needed to be so they could have the first day of school experience. And I had the opportunity to walk back and forth with West Campus kids yesterday with throngs of them and traffic going back and forth in the buses and Deputy Beza there to run traffic and Officer Weischer on the other side to make sure nobody got hit. This building is needed, it's appreciated, and most importantly, I want to tell our teachers that showed up tonight to thank you. I want to thank them for doing this every day. And I'm passionate and I love it. And I want to make sure that you guys understand how appreciated you are for pressing forward with this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name's Dallas Brown. I live over on Baxter Drive. My wife and I recently moved here 3 years ago because the core of my family decades ago were founders of this valley. And we wanted to move back here to a community that espoused the principles that my great-grandfather had years ago. And there's been a lot of emotion that's been brought forth in this meeting. And one of the things that I think most about is I'm very grateful for all those who have stood up and fought for the rights of the property owners and the rights to not be taxed, but at the same time, the principles that made this valley and the principles that returned me to this area are encased in what's being delivered at Wasatch High School and all of our schools. And these opportunities, our children are missing these opportunities. I volunteer as a high school basketball coach at Wasatch. And it's a struggle that we have so many kids come out for the team that work hard that we have to cut because there's not opportunity for the size we are. We went to the freshman football game yesterday, and there were at least 35 kids who did not get a second of play on the freshman team. Opportunity is what's going to keep our kids healthy, safe. Extracurricular activities is what's going to keep our kids sane and on the right path. And no matter the space problems, we are not providing that currently to our children. And so we need to find a way to build another school. And I believe everybody believes this. Tax policy should not be addressed with the school board. There's other problems with the tax policy. It is not the school board. It is not our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Boy, this room got a lot cooler when half the people left, didn't it? I suppose it's much more warm up there. Good evening. My name's Randy Christ. I live at 1723 North Highway 40, Wasatch County. I want to talk about something different. It maybe change the atmosphere a little bit. In a former life, I was an iron worker. I did that kind of work for 30 years in a very cosmopolitan area. I built a lot of schools during that 30-year period of time. And one of our favorite things to do during our lunch break was to sit and critique the construction and the design of the buildings and see how, and I don't know anything about the building you're proposing, but the buildings that I've built are monuments to the architectural team that designed them. And one of our favorite pastimes during our lunch hour was to critique what was going on. And we did a lot of them. So my comment to you would be that you'll get more support from the people of this valley that are going to bear the burden of this if you tighten the screws down on your architect. And I heard, I think one of the consultants say they had a school that they were building that was 40 million, and it ended up being 60. And I see that all the time in the work that I did. Totally outrageous. So that's one place where you might be able to appease taxpayers if you were to, if you don't have the expertise, which, I know some of you and I know what you do, you don't have expertise in architecture work or structural engineering or anything else. You might have to get some people to help you. But that's certainly a place where you can make a difference to where you've got your thumb and you're tightening the screws down on the budget. So, people throw around this figure of, I don't even know what it is. It's 150 million. So when it gets done, it's going to be 200 million. Is that what it's going to be? It's completely outrageous. And so I would support something, I'll just finish. Thank you. Something where I know that the budget's been held and somebody has looked at that stuff before it goes into construction, and they are not having these huge overruns. We're not NASA. We can't spend an extra $1 billion here or there. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Tyler Dow, 900 Mitchie in Mitchie Lane. I'm going to start with an anecdote of my own. We lived in Camas when we first moved back to Utah. Daniels Canyon is named after our family, and we have some roots here ourselves. When we came, we lived in the Camas Valley, and Nate was 5 then. He's 25 now, and came home from school once, and I said, "How was school?" And he said, "It was a good day, Dad." He's a kindergartner. I said, "Well, what did you do?" He said, "We learned a word of the day." I said, "What was your word?" He said, "Wisdom." So that's awesome. What's wisdom? He says, I don't know exactly, but I can use it in a sentence. I said, okay, go ahead. And he said, I had a kidney stone till I whizzed them out. I said, we're moving. And we left Camas Valley, and we came on down here to the big city. And because of many good folks in this room, we had 2 really good students who were really integrated into the community and have done well academically. And Nate today, just a little update on him, that kid about wisdom, he had opportunities because of his hard work, because of his mom and his sister, and the importance of education, because again, many of you, school is important. It was a surprise to me after having opportunities to go to Yale and MIT and places like that. He drops out of Westminster. And he comes to me and says, Dad, I don't need to go to school anymore. That was the alarm. I know I'm almost over time. I don't need to go to school anymore. I'm going to do a coding camp and be done in 6 months, and I'll make 3 times what I would make getting a bachelor's of science degree in computer science at any of the local universities. Guys, he was right. I love you guys. You're awesome. I feel a bit like we're rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. You guys have an unenviable situation, which is you got to deal with the population growth now. You're planning 20 or 30 years in the future. And listening to my son and a lot of his cohorts, we need to figure out how to turn the world into their campus. And I would just encourage us to put those resources there. So thank you. Appreciate you all again.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, that was 5, so we'll pause, see if there are any comments.
I'd just like to comment on Randy. Thanks for commenting. Yeah, we're not, this is not set in stone. We're going to value engineer the heck out of this thing. We've got some other ideas to, even in building this school, to help with the costs and using other entities. So the answer is a question, yes, we will tighten the screws on everybody. So it's not over yet.
To follow Tyler's comment, we do have plans to have a plan architectural
Actual
committee
team.
or building reviewing committee to look at plans. So.
We'll put you
Thank you.
down.
Thank you.
Okay.
The one thing I wanted to bring up, just kind of some of our class sizes, this is just coming from my own students. French 2, my daughter reported today that there are 47 students in one class and 41 in another, French 2. That's not a core class. I can't imagine what the core classes are doing right now. Physics, I talked to the physics teacher a week ago, or last Sunday. He's picked up an extra period, so he's now teaching 8 periods, and he has about 38 students in his classes. We get criticized for focusing on athletics and extracurricular activities, but when we talk about athletics, we're also talking about extracurricular activities. We're talking about theater. We're talking about football, which, by the way, has 160 boys on the team. We're talking about student government. We're talking about all the different kids who try to go out to be a Sterling Scholar at the end of the year. I mean, the competition is rough, and students need to belong. They need to belong in school. They need to have an extracurricular activity, no matter what that is, and they need to find out who they are while they're in high school. So that's why it's so important to us, the extracurricular activities, when we talk about them. Other options besides college, I was actually talking to Tyler Dow just a little bit ago during our break. I hear what you're saying. You're kind of talking about more on-site experience, I think, right? But we have CTE, which is career and
Technical
Dr. Watts, career and technical
education.
which brings in not just university type classes, but careers post-high school that is like dental tech.
Hygienists and
dental-
programs, you're right.
Yeah, different programs that's not 4-year university based. And we have plans to bring more of that in. We have MTech programs, which offers, we have CAPS, which offers a lot of different career type classes. So I don't know, we can talk more about that if you're interested, but we do have a lot of really good programs out there that is not focused on the four-year university.
Okay. All right, let's proceed. Are there any other comments? Chris, you're up. Bring us home.
Bring you home. Sorry for making 2 comments. I put a lot of thought into this. Chris Crittenden, 99 West, Farm Springs Road. So I think it'd be worthwhile to say why I'm here. I'm not here because I'm actually opposed to the taxes. I think a lot of people are. I'm here because I'm a passionate educator. I'm an educator myself. I spend all day today writing a proposal for a small school that's dying and putting strategies together for how they could resurrect themselves and be a viable institution going forward. It's something I care very, very deeply about. The reason it's important that we think about this carefully, right, is that we are in a world of trade-offs. As we've heard tonight, Wasatch County has reached the bulk of the citizens has reached their taxing limit, right? They're not willing to keep paying more and more taxes. And so quite literally, every dollar we spend on something comes at the expense of something else. That was the most beautiful explanation I've heard of lease revenue bonds tonight, by the way. Thank you. It was very clear. And lease revenue bonds puts this into very clear relief. We have a budget, right? They can't raise the taxes. The payments, the $9 million payment for this bond has to come out of our general budget. That means that every dollar spent on this high school means we can't spend that dollar on increasing wages for teachers or increasing course offerings or other things that we care a lot about. This is why I care, right? Yes, there's research that talks about the advantages of small schools. If you read it extensively, it's pretty mixed on what they actually say. Most of the research says small schools 400 students. I would be all in favor of getting to a school of 400 students. But that's going to become a huge, huge trade-off, right? And so that's why I'm here. We're talking about a trade-off tonight. I would much rather actually see us to go with the general obligation bond that increases our tax limit, because now at least we've increased the amount of money we're going to spend on our schools, right? We're not putting ourselves in a situation of a fixed budget where now money that we could have spent on things that the research unambiguously says improves outcomes for students. Like teachers, right? Sorry, I've put so much time to this. Can I please have a little more time?
Chris, we haven't,
Everybody else
finish your
has to,
thought.
Chris.
Okay.
Go ahead
Finish
and
your thought.
please.
So that's what we're talking about here tonight is trade-offs, okay? I want to talk about another issue. It is the viability of the plan we proposed. It's hard for us to argue against people who have unlimited time limits when we only have 2. So when we came to present the proposal for this other option, right? And again, our motivation here is it saves us $80 million that could then be spent on things that we know raises educational outcomes for students, right? When we presented that option, the numbers were all in front of us. We used the district's projections for growth. There was no complaint about the feasibility of it. The only complaint was Superintendent Sweat said, well, I don't believe the projections. That was hard to swallow when during the Future Schools process, they spent the majority of one of the meetings explaining to us why we should believe these projections and why they're right. So I guess my concluding point is, there is another option that saves us $80 million. $80 million that could be spent on things that directly impact student outcomes. More teachers, better teachers, more course offerings, right? That option is feasible. In the private meeting with the district, they did not argue with our numbers. They're publicly posted online, showing the capacity reaching all the district's projections for growth.
And
Thank you. I'm retiring from school board politics now.
You're fine.
Thank you.
Just so the
Thanks,
group's clear that your alternative is a freshman center.
Yeah, so on the freshman center.
No, I just.
No, so there, it is a trade-off.
Okay,
I'm not going to deny that there's trade-offs there.
Yeah.
I will also let you know that 60% of the top 40 high schools in Utah do not have freshmen in their high school. I'd rather have freshmen in the high school too, but we're not talking about a world of unlimited
Thanks,
budgets.
Chris.
We're talking about a world of trade-offs.
We appreciate
Now I'm
it.
done. Thank you.
Clint Coleman, 206 South Center Street in Midway. You've done a good job. You've pissed off half the people in the room, and you've got the other half on your side. So it means you're doing your job. we've talked a lot about these building new schools, and I graduated from Wasatch High School in 2001. Paul was the principal at the time, so most of these board members I know have known all my life. That's a tough nut to swallow, the two-school thing. You know, it does change the valley, but if you think we can just continue to kick this ball down the road and look at these other options, while most of them are viable options, and there's been a lot of people put a lot of good time into them, they ultimately are never going to address it. We're not going to stop growing. When I went to high school, I spent as much time avoiding class as I could, and I could do that. But I had that experience that was fantastic, and I appreciate it. And I don't have children in the system at the high school level yet. Mine are all younger, but the time is coming when our kids are going to outgrow this school or the next one or whatever you build. So continue with the path. The other thing is it gets hard to govern by committee. Not to discredit the Future Schools Project and the other subcommittees, and those are all great. But eventually, you got to make a damn decision. And that's where it feels like to me. You know, we've divided the community plenty, and it's pretty equal. We can sit and debate the legitimacy of your surveys and who was actually surveyed. I think it's hilarious, and I want to end with this. Randy, were you ultimate bond counsel for the Midway open space bond? Okay, so I fought that son of a gun tooth and nail. And Ken Mickelson, who spoke to us this evening, was on the opposite side of that. And Ken and I have come together and still adamantly disagree on things. But we can come to a room like this in stark disagreement of each other and still be cordial and still respect one another. And I have now, my point is, come full circle with that open space thing to where I see the value of it and I see what it has done. At the time, I wanted to strangle every single one of the public officials that was making the decisions, but I've seen the value. So I would hope that some of those that are maybe on the edge of not knowing exactly where they are could take that little bit of leap of faith, trust in you guys, which we elected, and who we can unelect and run in their place in the future. That is always an option, and maybe go with this. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Charlotte Scheid. I live at 525 North, 600 West Heber. And I have sat here this evening and I understand that you as a council members have all the concern and interests of the children at heart. I get that. And we've heard from a lot of teachers here tonight that are very, very emotional about their students, and that's a real tribute to them. The challenge with the special interest group and your special interest is the children, is that often it's hard to see the forest for the trees. And I think very strongly that that's the case in this situation. You know, you don't have to look very far in this world and in this nation to understand what's going on. And I hear you talk about you understand the need for fiscal responsibility. But I don't see, what you want is everything for your students. You want it all. You want first class, everything. And don't we all? We all want that. But in the times that we have now, it's important to be conservative with the way the money is spent. We can't have everything that we want. Even as a parent, children can't have everything they want, even though we'd like to. And I think that you want everything, but it's not the right time for that. You must be more responsible
Thank you. Your time's done.
$80 million, $80 million you could save up front. And I'll finish with this. You have a lot of talent in this community, a lot of talent. And I think that it would be beneficial to all of us if you took advantage of that and listened to what we have to say and be a good example to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Amanda Porter. I live at 42 West, 300 South, and I'm going to get emotional after that comment. I wasn't going to stand up. But I had a sophomore. I work at the high school. I'm an instructional coach. So I was helping a teacher in a classroom today work on her instructional design and delivery and all the things. And I was greeting the students as they came in. This was a classroom of 37 students. And one cute little student who I happened to be in her classroom last year a lot as a freshman, she's a sophomore, because she had a tendency to not want to attend school, not want to be to class, and sometimes was a behavior problem as a freshman for many of our teachers. So I got to know her, and she pulled me over and she goes, "Ms. Porter, are you gonna be in my class this year a lot?" And I says, "Oh, maybe, we'll see." And I asked her about her summer, and she goes, "I learned something this summer, can I tell you about it?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I got to go down to South America and build a school with my family." And I said, "Oh my gosh, tell me about that." And she told me, and then she said, "Do you want to know what I learned the most?" I said, "What?" And she says, "I'm so lucky to go to Wasatch High School." And this kid would not have said that last year. So when we say we can't have it all, this child deserves it all. And we're giving it to her. Come hell or high water, these teachers are doing it. And those parents are trusting us. Her parents are delivering her to us every day. And she is grateful for that facility. And every student who walks in that door deserves the same, no matter where they come from. Thank you. My question to this room is, I have heard over and over and over again today that the taxes, according to these experts, are not. And so I am so baffled why this is so dang confusing. Thank you, board. You're doing a great job. I am so grateful to be in this district. This is my 20th year. I travel this country, teaching all over this country, and there's not another board or superintendent I've ever encountered putting themselves on the line for the benefit of students like right here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're coming up on 10 o'clock. Are there any other individuals that would like to make a comment? All right, closing comments from the board, and then we'll wrap up.
I think we should have Matt respond to Chris Crittenden's comment.
Actually, Randy's going
Or Randy, okay.
Okay.
Is Chris
Just quickly
still here?
again, Randy Larson with Gilmore and Bell, bond counsel to the board. Chris raised a question about a trade-off, and we should clarify that for the budget purposes. The district's separate tax levies are siloed in how they can be used. So the budget that would be the trade-off is in capital facilities, meaning things like refurbishment, new school, new land, new buildings. When you invest in a new high school, that would be the trade-off against other capital facilities projects, but it does not take any dollars away from teachers' salaries, new course things that were raised. It's just a matter of state statute. I'm not trying to argue with the politics or other pieces. It's just a matter of state statute that the budget is solely the capital facilities budget.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify something? We're capped at 30 mills on that one, so we're already at 12, I think. When that goes in effect, it'll have it up over 20. If we have a reversal, and like they say, you can keep it in the budget, but you're you know what it's like to be run up against a cap, because it happened on the a problem in the assessor's office. And we've been over our caps for 2 or 3 years trying to get that straightened back down.
Thank you, Jerry.
Anyway.
Appreciate your comment. Okay, any other thoughts from the board? Anything? Anything from the superintendent?
I would just make a quick clarification. I'm not here to be argumentative. I don't want to argue with Mr. Crittenden. I was called out by name, and so I'm just going to respond to that. I did not say that I did not believe the projections. And, you know, we can check the video. I stand by the fact I did not say that. What I did do is I explained the nuances of the way our demographic company projects student growth, and they only base it on approved or pending subdivisions that are in the local planning offices. Other people use different types of methodology to gather this type of data. The company we use bases it solely on already approved subdivisions. And when they talk about build out, they're talking about build out of the subdivisions that are approved. So since we've dealt with this company, which has now been a number of years, we know that those projections flatten out after approximately 5 or 6 years, because it's not taking into account all of the new developers or property owners that walk into the planning offices and apply for new subdivisions. Those are not taken into account, and so we have to kind of make a mental note of that as we look at those projections. And that was my comment in the meeting that we were in listening to that proposal. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. I mean, I think final from my standpoint, I'll just make a few comments and then we'll make a motion to close, is I do think that public education across the country is in a position where it's deteriorating. And there are districts that have been given up on. There are communities that have given up on that premise of public education, where families are financially able, children are being pulled out of the public education system in masses because parents don't trust that their child will be ready for life by going through that process. And it's in bad shape. It is. However, Wasatch County School District is not giving up on public education. Not on this board's watch, not on this superintendent's watch and this business administrator's watch. And we'll do everything that we can personally do to continue to provide the best education for our students in this valley. And that is a promise. So thank you for your participation tonight. Thank you for your respect. We've learned a lot. We have a lot to think about and continue to work through. And I'll entertain a motion that we close this meeting.
Motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here.